The music selection this evening by Vice Mayor Raley is I Am Not Okay by Jelly Roll. For the October 10th City Commission meeting, Commissioner Brody will be making the music selection.
Does it have to be PG?
Yes.
All right.
As a reminder for sound quality, please be sure to speak one at a time, speak clearly and directly into your microphone, indicate when you are done speaking, and mute your microphone when you are not speaking. If anyone is having difficulty hearing in the chambers at any time during this meeting, please raise your hand and someone will bring an audio assistance device to you. At this time, we kindly remind everyone to please silence all mobile devices. Thank you.
All right. City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Rydell.
Here.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Here.
Commissioner Brody.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Raley.
Here?
Mayor Welch.
Here.
City Manager Rose.
Here.
City Attorney Piber.
Here.
If you'll all rise and join me in the pledge to the allegiance.
The material, this meeting is being conducted live with a physical quorum present. The material for today's meeting is available online at www.coconutcreek.net. Anyone wishing to appeal any decision made will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim recording of the proceedings is made, including the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. The archive of this meeting may be requested from the city clerk or may be heard online at www.coconutcreek.net. If you haven't already, please silence your mobile devices. If you must take a phone call, please excuse yourself and step outside. Respect and proper decorum will be maintained throughout the meeting. Vocal outbursts, jeering, cheering, or applause can impair the rights of others and derail the decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our first presentation is Agenda Item 1. It's a proclamation recognizing October 7 through 13, 2024 as Florida Climate Week 2024 in the city of Coconut Creek. And Vice Mayor Raley is going to read it into the record, and then Sustainability Manager Linda Whitman is going to accept the proclamation.
Okay, thank you. Whereas the Climate Change 2023 Synthesis Report listed a current temperature rise of 1.1 degrees Celsius, leading to constant unnatural weather events, bringing disarray to the planet and its inhabitants. And it reports an increase in weather-related disasters with every rise in temperature level. And whereas Florida and its 825 miles of shoreline and low elevation points of approximately 100 feet above sea level make the state highly susceptible to sea level rise and other natural disasters related to climate change, and the high level of carbon dioxide pollution also threatens to harm Florida's coral reefs and a variety of sea organisms. And whereas Volo Foundation, along with other nonprofit organizations, local, state, and federal partners, elected leaders, news media, volunteer, and professional associations, is committed to educating Florida citizens and visitors about the climate crisis so they may take action to bring about positive, influential change to protect their families, businesses, and themselves. And whereas the citizens of Florida are encouraged to become more aware of our changing climate and participate in the various in-person and virtual events offered during Florida Climate Week, which can be found at floridaclimateweek.org. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Commission of the City of Coconut Creek hereby proclaims the week of October 7th to the 13th, 2024 as Florida Climate Week in the City of Coconut Creek, and urges all community members to support efforts to protect our environment, address climate change by reducing the demand on the Earth's resources, and ensure the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Witness hereof, We set our hands cause of the seal of the city of Coconut Creek to be affixed this 26th day of September 2024. Signed by Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Clerk, and the Commissioners. Thank you.
And Linda, it's appropriate that it should happen today. She and I spent the better part of today at the Resilience Roundtable, the Broward Leaders Resilience Roundtable. So we not only got there in the pre-hurricane weather, but heard a lot about resilience and climate change. And she's awesome. Next item is input from the public.
Yes, this evening we have two individuals that signed up to speak under input from the public. The first individual that signed up to speak is Liz Scardigno.
Hello and good evening, members of the Coconut Creek City Commission. I'm here tonight to follow up on my previous visit regarding the alarming number of missing community cats in the South Creek, Sunshine Drive, and Broward College area. Since my last presentation on July 11th, I regret to inform you that 4 more cats have disappeared. I visit this area daily, and just a few months ago, I regularly saw a group of 20 to 25 healthy cats, all spayed or neutered. They would eagerly greet me for their daily meals. Today, only 12 remain. While they are still healthy, they now hide under cars, wary and cautious, making it difficult for me to provide food. The situation took a tragic turn when the body of a friendly white male cat was found near Broward College. An autopsy revealed he likely succumbed to a canine attack with a single puncture wound on his chest and internal injuries, including broken ribs. This raises questions. A predator would typically leave multiple bite marks indicating a more aggressive encounter. I know a coyote frequents the area, and a resident recently captured video footage of it. Interestingly, while there are Muscovy ducks nearby, they remain unharmed, suggesting that the cats are being targeted specifically. I'm unsure if any investigation or preventive measures have been taken. I have not observed increased patrols, nor have residents been questioned about these disappearances. It's concerning that, aside from the one found cat, no remains have been discovered, which leads me to wonder about the nature of the threat we're facing. I urge the Commission to take action to protect not only the community cats, but also the residents, including small children, who may be at risk if a predator is present. Florida prides itself on law and order, and we should ensure our communities remain safe. We are a state that values security, attracting citizens from across the country seeking a better environment. Please, I implore you to consider the well-being of these animals. They deserve to live without fear. They did not choose to be abandoned. They need your support and action. Thank you for your attention, and please have a good evening. Thank you.
Might I ask that Chief Hofer meet with you and just brief you on the work that was done related to the cat?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the next speaker that signed up under input from the public is Nancy Fry.
Good evening, Commission and staff. Nancy Fry, 5341 Flamingo Place, Coconut Creek, 33073. I just wanted to bring up two issues tonight about transparency online with the city. I wanted to make the request that we once again add on and have the commission meetings streamed on YouTube again. Over the past couple months, I've had a number of people ask me about various city issues and wanted to know what had happened during meetings, and trying to explain the whole Granicus system and pull up the link for them is really difficult. And I'm not really clear on why there's any issue with going back to streaming on YouTube in addition to having Granicus. It's a really great way to share, and it's also, if you're trying to listen to a 3-hour meeting and you need to stop halfway through, you don't have to remember your timestamp for when you go back in. And then secondly, regarding the ballot question webpage, I would love to see that we highlight or bold the section that talks about canceling the election. I think that it's buried in some very dense ballot language, and I understand the ballot image section can't be changed, but just the plain text part on the website. You're asking people to give up their right to vote in 2 years if this passes, and that's a very serious ask, and I think it needs to be given that kind of serious consideration and that kind of serious emphasis on the website. And if that could just be bolded and made more clear so people aren't having to parse through the full ballot language to understand that they're being asked that. Thank you.
Nancy, just a couple of items.
Yes.
At our last meeting, we resumed the YouTube presentation, so you should be able to find these meetings now on YouTube, and it also provides for transcription services. Joe Kavanaugh may want to respond related to our limitations for the ballot issue, if you want to do it now or later. Mayor, it's your option.
Well, given that our city clerk can't leave the meeting, he probably should respond now.
Okay. I still have a minute and a half left. So.
Joe can have the time to respond.
All right.
Sure. When it comes to promoting the language on the website, the ballot title, and the ballot question, and what was approved by the commission, I certainly, as the city clerk, and part of me would defer to our city attorney a little bit as well, highlighting certain portions of the language and by default not highlighting other portions of the language. I don't know the impact as a city clerk, what that has. Certainly Nancy's correct that on the ballot itself, the language is plain. But as far as what the city should do and what we're limited by statutorily, I don't know if we can or can't do that or not. I certainly haven't seen it done in other municipalities, but I would definitely defer to our city attorney before proceeding forward, and certainly the opinions of the commissioners and our city manager.
Thank you.
I would just like to look into that, if that's okay, and get back to you. Thank you.
It's fine. Is there anyone else that did not sign up on a non-agenda or a consent item that wishes to speak? All right. Then we'll move. Thank you, City Clerk Kavanaugh. We'll move on to consent agenda items 2 through 9. Agenda item 2 is a motion approving the minutes from previous City Commission meetings, 2024-0822R. Agenda item 3 is a motion to cancel the November 28, 2024 and the December 26, 2024 regular City Commission meetings. Agenda item 4 is a motion authorizing the city manager or designee to approve the update to the software and controls for the energy management systems, EMS, that communicates with the various heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC units in the Public Works Building, Recreation Complex, Fire Station 50, and Fire Station 94 by Master Mechanical Services, Inc., pursuant to RFP number 02-23-22-10. Agenda item 5, Resolution 2024-142, a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute the Third Amendment to the interlocal agreement with Broward County for community shuttle service. Agenda item 6, Resolution 2024-145, a resolution authorizing the city manager to request the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, to convey surplus property to the city of Coconut Creek to be utilized for the public purpose of providing adequate drainage, utilities, and road right-of-way within the Main Street project area as provided herein and legally described in Exhibit A. Agenda item 7, Resolution 2024-130, a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute Amendment Number 9 to the District 4 Landscape Inclusive Maintenance Memorandum of Agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, for the purpose of maintaining sidewalks, landscaping, and other improvements within the right-of-way of Sample Road, State Road 834, related to the Mazda Development Project. Agenda item 8, Resolution 2024-154, a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute the attached maintenance agreement between the City of Coconut Creek and Pompano Autoplex, LLC, which agreement transfers and assigns responsibility for the maintenance of sidewalks, landscaping, and other improvements in the West Sample Road, State Road 834, right-of-way adjacent to the property located at 4101 West Sample Road to Pompano Autoplex, LLC.
Pull 2.
Pull 5.
I have some to read.
I apologize. Pull 3. I apologize, Mayor.
May I continue reading?
Pull 3. Oh, I thought you were.
Resolution 2024-148, a resolution authorizing the use of federal law enforcement trust funds in the amount of $48,000 from the Federal Forfeiture Justice Fund for the purchase of 2 Polaris Rangers. Now, are there any items the commission wishes to pull from the consent agenda?
3.
3.
5.
Are there any others? All right, then is there a motion and a second to approve items 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9?
Motion.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Wasserman. Now, on the items that are pulled, is there a motion and a second to approve the remaining consent agenda items? That would be items 3 and 5.
You
3 and 5. You asked to pull 3 and 5.
I asked to pull 3, yes.
And you asked to pull 5. So is there a motion and a second to approve those consent agenda items? We've moved and seconded on the items that were not pulled. So, City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you please call the roll on those items?
Commissioner Rydell,
These are on the items that were not pulled.
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman,
Yes.
Commissioner Brody,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley,
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. Now, is there a motion and a second to approve the remaining consent agenda items, which are items 3 and 5?
Yes. Move it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Rydell and seconded by Vice Mayor Raley. Okay. So who's going to speak on item 3? Okay. I thought there was somebody from staff that's going to speak on agenda item 3.
Item number 3 relates to the cancellation of the November 28th meeting and the December 26th meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. May I, Mayor?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So in talking to Terrell, and I know some of you have as well, and I know we have a Main Street item up this evening, there is a potential to have a significant amount of items on the only two meetings we have in November and December. So my suggestion is that we either take, if we're canceling those 2 meetings, we add in the 21st or the 5th as a potential overflow meeting.
Of December.
Either the 21st of November or the 5th of December. And the reason, and again, I have no problem, obviously, they're on holidays, so I don't have a problem canceling the meetings that we're canceling. I do have a problem based on just some of the public hearings. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't read the future, right? But if the Main Street team chooses to do certain things or not do certain things, this is robust items that some of these things, I don't think we could fit on just 2 meetings in November and December. And I don't think it's fair to us either to stay here till 3 and 4 in the morning on potential mandated statutory public hearings. So I do believe we need to add a meeting. So I'm okay canceling if there's consensus to add.
Staff has no objection.
I turn to my colleagues.
I support December 5th as a meeting.
Either or, I'm good for a meeting.
I'm fine with November 21st and the 5th.
All right, my preference is the 5th, so do we have a consensus on the 5th?
To the 5th.
December 5th. Okay,
So
thank
there's
you.
a consensus, we'll add a meeting on December 5th.
So I'm making a motion to amend item 3. The amendment will now say a motion to cancel November 28, 2024 and December 26, 2024 regular commission meetings and add December 5th, 2024 a regular city commission meeting. So that's my motion to amend.
I second that motion.
Do we vote on the amendment? City Clerk Kavanaugh, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rydell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Yes.
Commissioner Brody?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley?
Yes.
Mayor Welch?
Yes. So now, City Clerk Kavanaugh, will we vote on the regular agenda item?
Commissioner Wright? Sorry.
As amended.
Commissioner Rydell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Yes.
Commissioner Brody?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley?
Yes.
Mayor Welch?
Yes. Agenda item 5.
Yeah, Harry, come on up. So there's a little backstory on this that I asked this question in the agenda meeting with the city manager, or deputy city manager, and Terrell about the agreement that we're getting into to extend this with the county. And knowing that we had at one point had to return a bus already, my questions were, well, listen, if we're going in here to redo this contract, how efficient are these buses that we're using now? And they provided the information to me today, so I have some questions that maybe you understand we're going to go with this because I'm seeing kind of an issue with this. The number that the information I got in the spreadsheet said there was about 4.5 people on average that ride the shuttle. And I think it's 5.8 ride our butterfly shuttle per hour. My question first is how big is the county bus? How many seats on that?
I believe it's about 16s.
How many?
I believe it's 16.
16.
When you say county bus, you mean the shuttle buses that we run are 16.
Right, the butterfly shuttles are 16.
Correct, and the county community shuttle that we run is also 16.
16. So we're talking
Approximate.
maybe in an hour we're about, what, a quarter filled, maybe?
Yeah,
Was that
not much.
fourth? Fifth filled? So most of the bus is empty throughout the day. So if we're talking about a carbon footprint, 4 people on that bus, and these are electric buses or diesel?
We do have some diesel, and also the county provides us, the county buses are propane.
Propane. So it's a natural fuel, it's
Correct.
fossil fuels. I'm kind of curious if we have that discussion with them of, if it's not full enough, why are we doing this? Because we're leaving a huge footprint here for 4 people an hour. I think we need to have that discussion with them to say, listen, if we can't get that bus full, why are they providing a bus that, maybe we shorten the times, or not shorten the times, but, maybe get rid of a bus so that the one bus could be a little bit more fuller during the time period so that it's less of an impact on our environment. I think these are discussions that we actually have to have if we're really talking about making a difference. I think that if these things are really fossil fuels, I have another issue with that because obviously that's an issue. We're talking about trying to get fossil fuels vehicles off the road, and we're kind of wasting a lot of gas for 4 people an hour. And so I want you to take this back to them saying, hey man, if we can't fill this up, what are our options? And how can we do this to less impact our environment? So I think that we need to look at this differently when we go back to the county, since we're getting ready to do a $460 million project of, do we keep this, the dinosaur running up and down our streets, or do we come up with a better solution to this? I think that's where I want to kind of talk to and get my colleagues to understand that maybe we need to have a different discussion with the county of how much they're providing us and what we can do to make it more efficient, or maybe even promote the program more, so that we get more people on the bus.
We absolutely agree with you, Commissioner Brody. The county is completing their transit comprehensive operational analysis. We're supposed to finish by the end of this end of this calendar year. And the city is also working on a city transit master plan, which has we've paused because it's very dependent upon what the county's final product is as well. So we're very anxious to see the results of the study, to go down that road you're talking about of what is the most efficient and best use for the funds, and to provide some sort of transportation, as well as there's other initiatives about concerning microtransit and a funding source for that. So we're caught with, this is an extension of 1 year. I think the county recognized that they just want to do 1 year because they do anticipate substantial changes. Throughout the county, many of the city community shuttle programs are underperforming.
I think why we have a seat at that table, it needs to be brought up of what we want in our city is less of an impact on the fossil fuel vehicles. Did you have something to say there, City Manager?
Yeah, I hear your point, and the reason it is only a 1-year extension, it's interesting because we actually applied to have a pilot program of microtransit. Our transit master plan is leading us to microtransit because of the numbers in these shuttles. But the key to keeping our transit system robust is connecting to the county system, and they're a little slow in getting their analysis done.
You mean city government is slow?
No, county government is slow. County government is slow. City government is very agile. So we are.
Shocks me.
I hear your point. We're really working to improve the transit. Ultimately, we expect that we'll go to a microtransit model, but we don't want to do anything that would take away the movement to transit, because ultimately it will be more efficient.
Right. Well, my point is we're at the table now with them with this whole thing that's going on. Now's the time to start bringing up these issues so that it's in their ear and that we're making our stand of what we believe in here in Coconut Creek. And 4 people an hour that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. I think that, if we go in there and say, hey, maybe we roll one of these buses back and maybe split times or do other stuff. We got to get creative with this. We're talking about impacting our environment, right? We just read a proclamation about the same thing. I think this is the kind of conversations that we need to have with them to say now, not in tomorrow. We need to start talking about now. So we're at the table with them, and I'm making a request that we make sure that we voice our opinion on what impacts our environment, especially here in Creek.
Yes.
Thanks, Harry. That's all.
Anyone else? City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you call the roll on agenda item 5?
Commissioner Rydell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rowley.
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. All right, we're going to the regular agenda. Agenda item 10, ordinance 2024-031, and it is the second reading and a public hearing.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coconut Creek, Florida, amending the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Departments, Division 3, Fire Rescue Department, to amend Section 2-82, Use of Off-Duty Firefighter Paramedics or Fire Inspectors for Unofficial Functions, to provide for an increase of off-duty detail fees for firefighter paramedics or fire inspectors, and add Juneteenth as a holiday, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Raley and seconded by Commissioner Wasserman. So we have our fire chief.
This is the second reading, so I'm here to entertain any additional questions.
Are there any questions or comments? I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that want to speak on this item? Did anyone sign up to speak on this item?
Not at this time, Mayor.
All right. Public hearing is now closed. Any comments from the commission? City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Rydell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman,
Yes.
Commissioner Brody,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley,
Yes?
Mayor Welch.
Yes. Thank you. Agenda item 11 is ordinance 2024-041. It is a first reading.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coconut Creek, Florida, amending the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 6, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 3, Minimum Building Premises Standards, Section 6-39, Abandoned Real and Personal Property, by amending Chapter 14, Offenses, Article 1 in general, to create Section 14-5, Trespass Appeals, by amending Chapter 15, Parks and Recreation, Article 2, Rules and Regulations, Section 15-24, Recreational Activities, and by amending Chapter 17, Streets, Sidewalks, Waterways, and Other Public Places, to create Article 5, Public Camping or Sleeping, in order to prohibit public camping and sleeping on public property and provide for trespass violations, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion and a second?
Motion?
Second. I've done a lot of seconding and motioning.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Brody and seconded by Commissioner Wasserman.
Good evening, everyone. Jeanette Camacho for the record. This ordinance was created as a result of House Bill 1365, which pretty much prohibits public camping and public sleeping. It goes into effect October 1st. That's the first portion. The second portion goes into effect January 1st, which is when a city can be sued for permitting the public camping and the public sleeping. And putting this ordinance together, we did look at other cities, DeLand, Jacksonville, and Sanford, who already had created one. We've met with the county attorneys, other city attorneys. We attended several meetings with them on Zoom, and this was the ordinance that we felt best fit our city. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Rydell.
Yeah, Jeanette, just a couple of quick questions. I mean, you just listed 3 cities, none of which are here.
3 cities, that what, I'm sorry?
None of which are here. They're not local. None of them are in
Correct.
Broward County. So I don't know what the homeless issues are in Sanford, right? But I wouldn't think they're the same that we're dealing with here. I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
So that just piqued my interest because that kind of troubles me if we're not looking at similarly situated cities and how we're dealing with them, making that comparison. But I know we need to do this. The county's addressing this extensively, Terrell. I know your team did as well, and I was on a call this week about this with a couple other elected officials in some ways that they thought. I think the ordinance is good, right? I think it's written perfectly, but my only thing was, I know how Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood intend to address this is going to be much different than how we're intending to address it, obviously much different issues. I know next, in the first meeting in October, the county's addressing this in a little bit of a tweaked way as well. So I guess my question is twofold. Obviously understanding that this is a first reading, I would ask that the second reading not be at our next meeting, and you tell me if this is okay, and I'll tell you why. I'd ask that the second reading be at not the next meeting, but the following meeting, so that would make it the second meeting in October, and that we make sure we track the other ordinances in Broward specifically, because I think this becomes kind of a regional issue of how we're all going to deal with this together, candidly, as opposed to, you know, what other cities are doing. I'm all good with that in terms of how you guys want to write the law, but I think there's unintended consequences with with what the governor has mandated. So I want to make sure we are looking at this Broward-wise, and I know 3 other cities right now that are dealing with this in the next 10 days.
Correct.
On a first reading. So I would just ask for a little extra time between first and second, so we all can talk to our counterparts and other cities. That's my only thing, and is there a time issue if we do that?
No, but let me back up for a second. I don't know if you heard Ms. Camacho when she said that we have had meetings with other city attorneys in the
I did.
county, and we have looked at all of the code sections for all of the other cities in Broward County, as well as those cities that have put forward an ordinance so far. Many of them still have not. So we have tracked what other cities in Broward County are doing, but we are certainly happy to wait to hold the second reading of this to the October 24th meeting. As she pointed out, House Bill 1365 is effective October 1. However, the liability, so to speak, is not upon us until January 1, so I believe that the timing is not a problem.
Correct.
How I read it, I think it's great, so great job to the whole city attorney's office, candidly. But I'm just looking at it in terms of those things sometimes that I don't see, or maybe we don't see, or some of these debates that come up. And I think it just gives us a little bit of an opportunity to maybe hear what some of our neighbors are doing. I don't trust any of their city attorney offices more than us. Let me be clear. But I think how we're going to be mandated to deal with I think it's an unintended consequences that's going to happen of how we have to deal with it, right?
Correct.
But I'd like to have some more of a discussion in terms of how we're going to deal with this. I mean, I think it falls really squarely on Fred, right? But I'd like to see some of those discussions as well of love the writing of it, but like how do we handle step 2? That's all.
And if I could just also put on the record that we also took a look at some of the ordinances in Miami-Dade County as well as Palm Beach County, and I spoke with my counterparts, not only in Broward County, but also in Palm Beach County.
So again, I want to be clear, it's not the work product, it's what happens after this. That's my question. So that's my only request, if you guys are okay with that.
Vice Mayor Raley, and then I'll speak.
Thank you. Yeah, we do need discussion, but I don't think we're going to find answers until we're actually in this situation and know how to deal with it, because we don't know how our counterparts are going to deal with it, and it's all human nature. So we're not going to know how to deal with it until we're actually thrown into the situation. But I don't have a problem waiting for the second reading, and we do need to have discussion. And hopefully it could make your lives a lot easier. You want to go about this the humane way and the right way. So, but like I said, we're not going to know how to deal with it until we're in it.
So I'm also really curious what's going to happen at that county commission meeting. And that's really why I'm also saying it, so it gives us a little lead time, because I candidly believe they kind of have to give the municipalities a little, not in the ordinance, Tara, let me be clear, but a little guidance of where we're going here in some capacity. So it gives us at least an opportunity to have a little wiggle room before what I believe is probably going to be a pretty robust county commission meeting on that item.
Right. And just for everybody's benefit, the county commission is considering this on their ordinance on second reading on October 8th.
Because the municipalities, especially in our immediate surrounding areas, we may just be moving people around. And, yeah. So anyway, I agree. Thank you. So, is there anyone from the public who wishes to provide input on this item? No? All right, no further comments from the commission? City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Rydell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Yes.
Commissioner Brody?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley?
Yes.
Mayor Welch?
Yes. Thank you, Jeanette. Agenda item 12 is ordinance 2024-033, and it is a second reading and a public hearing.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coconut Creek, Florida, amending the city's Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 12, Garbage and Refuse, by creating Article 4, Zero Waste, to provide for the reduction of solid waste by limiting distribution of certain plastic products, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion and a second?
Move it.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Wasserman, seconded by Vice Mayor Raley. Well, hello.
Hello, good evening. Second reading, and I just want to add that we did add to the backup a summary overview for the businesses that we'll be able to use to educate the community.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Pardon me? Oh, yes, you most certainly do. I'm sorry.
Got to use the system, right? I just have two simple questions.
Yes,
When the surveys went out to the businesses, what language was it sent out in?
English.
English. Even though we know that all the North Creek is all Brazilian and speak Portuguese. You don't have to come, I know. Second question, when this ordinance was written, was there somebody on staff that had ran a business before?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so we send it out to businesses that may or may not speak English, and people that wrote the ordinance have never worked in a business that had to order supplies. Is that what I got from these two questions?
Yes.
Yes. All right, that's all I got.
All right, now I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Are there any further questions or comments from the commission? No? All right, then, City Clerk Kavanaugh, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Rydell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
No.
Vice Mayor Raley.
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. Thank you. Agenda item 13. We are now going to consider a quasi-judicial item, and will the city attorney please explain the city's quasi-judicial proceedings?
First, I want to remind everyone to silence your mobile devices. Florida courts have determined that there are certain types of matters, including agenda item 13 on tonight's agenda, that are to be treated differently than other items considered by the Commission. In these quasi-judicial applications, the Commission is applying existing rules and policies to a factual situation and is therefore acting like a judge and jury do in a trial held in the courtroom. In such cases, the courts have decided that due process and fundamental fairness require that more formal procedures be followed. The City Commission's decision must be based on the evidence and information that is presented at the public hearing, including the agenda materials, Planning and Zoning Board recommendation, testimony presented at the public hearing, and the deliberations of the City Commission. The quasi-judicial procedures require that the Commission consider the evidence presented to it and base their decision on the applicable law and primarily on credible evidence presented, whether by staff, the applicant, or members of the public. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the Commission is not allowed to take into consideration public sentiment or the popularity of a particular development proposal or application. The City Commission may only consider competent substantial evidence. This means testimony or other evidence that a reasonable mind would accept as credible and adequate to support a conclusion. Florida courts have made it clear that mere generalized statements of opposition are to be disregarded, but fact-based testimony can be considered competent substantial evidence. This can include eyewitness observation testimony about relevant facts and documentary evidence, including photographs, aerials, and maps. Citizens who want to participate in a quasi-judicial hearing can testify as to factual matters and any element of the case that would not require specialized training or specific academic degrees. Their testimony will be considered provided their testimony is backed up by established facts, studies, or evidence that is not conjecture or just based on a feeling. The quasi-judicial hearing process is not a popularity contest. The strict rules of evidence do not apply during the public hearing, but any comments must be relevant to the agenda item. Proper decorum is required and will be maintained at all times. Please refrain from vocal outbursts, jeering, cheering, or applause. Everyone who seeks to speak on an item will be given an opportunity to speak. If you intend to provide testimony as to any of the applications to be considered tonight, you will be sworn in before your testimony is taken. Please know if you speak, you may be subject to cross-examination. The City Commission may comment or ask questions of persons addressing the Commission at any time. If you refuse to either be cross-examined or to be sworn, your testimony will be considered in that context and given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but may request that the Commission direct questions on their behalf to the applicant or staff. Will the clerk please confirm compliance with the notice requirements?
The city has satisfied the legally required public notice for this public hearing for agenda item number 13.
And will you please swear in the witnesses?
Will anyone wishing to speak on this quasi-judicial item please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you come forward to speak, please state your name and address clearly for the record. State whether or not you've been sworn in and whether or not you understand the rules of the proceedings. Thank you.
All right, we'll now hear agenda item 13, and after I read the resolution title, I'll ask for a motion and a second to move the item. Resolution 2024-138, a resolution approving the site plan request of David Ald of John's Family Properties Partners, LLLP, to construct a maximum of 80 two-story townhomes for the property legally described in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, generally described as Block 9 of the Main Street at Coconut Creek Development, quasi-judicial and a public hearing. Is there a motion and a second to move item 13?
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Brody and seconded by Commissioner Wasserman.
Are there any disclosures such as outside communications or site visits on behalf of the commission for item number 13?
Yes.
So you have to say who you met with, if you don't mind.
Yes, every
Vice
meeting is
Mayor?
duly logged on the city's website. I met with the Main Street team.
Thank you.
Same answer.
Same answer. I met with them today.
Ditto. I met with the same team.
I guess likewise. I'm not sure, but I did have a separate phone call conversation with Mr. Backman yesterday, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Prophet, I think, is going to make a presentation on item 13.
Yes, Mayor, brief presentation. Justin Prophet, Director of Sustainable Development. I'll make a brief presentation and hand it back so the applicant can make theirs. This is a request for a site plan approval for Block 9 of the Main Street project. This is, the applicant is Scott Backman of Miskell Backman LLP on behalf of the owner David Ald of John's Family Partners LLLP. They are seeking site plan approval to construct 80 townhomes on Block 9 of the Main Street project in the zoning district Main Street of Coconut Creek, PMDD. As you know, this is a project in the overall city's regional activity center, which we call our RAC. And this location of this project is going to be at the southwest corner of the intersection of Cullum Road and 54th Avenue. Those, as you will see as we move forward through this process, those roadways will be enhanced with streetscape improvements that will complement Block 9 and will also be very compatible with the type of development and homes that will be on Block 9 as well. There's a very close relationship between the location of the townhomes and the front yards and the streetscapes, and that whole interface was designed very well by the applicant. Staff recommendation, staff finds that subject to the conditions of approval, the site plan application complies with the Main Street PMDD, the city's land development code, including the requirements of Division 5 site plan review requirements, the Main Street design standards, and is consistent with the applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comprehensive plan. As you know, the site plan also went before the Planning and Zoning Board at their August 14th, 2014 meeting. The board unanimously recommended approval of the application and site plan. The outstanding DRC comments were included in that Planning and Zoning Board agenda and backup. There are 3 conditions, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
All right. So does the applicant have a presentation?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. Oops, that's not it. Yeah, it's right here. Sorry. Sorry, just one moment while it loads. In the meantime, Scott Backman on behalf of the applicant, 14 Southeast 4th Street, Boca Raton are our offices. I have been sworn and I do understand the rules of procedure. I don't remember exactly what the statement was, but okay. And I'll say, I don't know, a moment of privilege. Commissioner Rydell, I wasn't aware of the comments that you were going to make about scheduling another meeting, but I very much appreciated. We thought we were running out of time, as well, as you all know, and I do think it will be helpful to have another meeting in there, so I very much appreciate that. I think I was walking back in the room as I heard it, and I asked Beth to kind of clarify for me, because I appreciate the commission making that. I know it's not just for Main Street, but I do think it will be helpful for us as we move forward here before the end of the year. So thank you for that. We're here tonight on Block 9, as Justin mentioned. This is 80 townhomes located in the far northwest corner of Main Street. I'll get to that into the presentation as we work our way through it. You know what, I'm just going to get into it because you're going to see a number of these items as I move through it. So a number of these you've seen. Again, I'll try and be somewhat brief. You know the development team at this point, and you've now seen this graphic a number of times. Simply for the record, just provides and restates the entitlements that exist within the Regional Activity Center and the DRI versus what we are actually proposing to develop within this PMDD for the boundaries of our property as well as the city piece. So you can see, again, I mentioned the far northwest corner, which is where Block 9 is located. If you'll recall, and I think this next slide shows it a little bit better, it is proximate to what we defined during the master plan process as the civic node. So what we tried to do, and you'll be, I believe you've already approved, I'm actually just going to flip forward to that slide in just a moment. Oh, come on, move. There we go. So this is a slide, I believe, maybe it was Vice Mayor Raley, but one of you all asked at our last meeting that we put together and just start to show what's been approved, what's come, what's still outstanding. So you can see with there are 4 development blocks specifically in proximity to the civic node. Block 11 was approved by all of you. That was a condominium block, I believe 3 or 4 months ago, sometime this summer. We're discussing Block 9 this evening. Blocks 15A and B are shown in yellow because they went to Planning and Zoning Board a couple of weeks ago and are scheduled before this commission on October 10th in a couple of weeks. So just to give you a little more context in terms of specifically what we're discussing. And then the other, I think, important factor here is the different unit types, the different product type that is being offered for sale or for rent in this proximity. The idea was to really include a significant pedestrian feel in and around the civic node. And so Block 9 provides a different offering in the form of for sale townhomes, while Block 11, Block 15 provide for sale condominiums, and Block 10 will be a for rent apartment development as it moves through the process. So the site plan itself, again, it's a little over 7 acres, 80 units. We have 2 different product offerings, I would call it here. The 17 units that you see on the right-hand or east side of this property are rear-loaded townhomes, very similar to the townhomes that you've seen in some of the other blocks that you've already approved. They're a more urban form. They front on Northwest 54th Avenue. The other 63 units within the block are a more traditional townhome, again, with the idea of Main Street having the opportunity to provide different product offerings throughout the entirety of the development. And so the other units here back behind the streetscape are that more traditional townhome with garages in front of the units. The parking is far in exceedance of what the code and the PMDD would otherwise require. There are 2 EV spaces provided as in kind of the guest parking area, and then each of the 80 garages are EV ready. So if you owned or were to buy an electric vehicle, all of the infrastructure is in place in order to provide the charging infrastructure within your garage. Again, bicycle parking within the community as well, and exceeding the pervious area requirements, which I believe we do in each of the development blocks. This next slide, just come on, pop up. There we go. So this next slide highlights some of the specific site features within Block 9. I actually want to start with the gated entry component. So like Block 1, which is across the street from the promenade, and I can go back to any of the slides if you all have questions, Block 1 is also a gated block. So we have vehicular gates off of Northwest 54th Avenue with enough stacking to provide vehicle queuing. There is some version of a fence that surrounds the balance of the block in between units 4 and 5, for example. There's an aluminum picket fence. It's about 30 inches or 2.5 feet high. That also goes around the 8-unit building along Cullum Road, and then there's a 5-foot high fence that goes along the west and the south property lines. That said, and this conversation has been taking place since the original approval of the PMDD master plan, the 3 stars that you see there, very similar to what you saw on Block 1 as well, provide for pedestrian entrances. So they are not gated. There's not a gate there that prevents access into the block. You can walk or bike or skateboard or otherwise into the block from those 3 areas, as well as along the sidewalk adjacent to the gated entry. So pedestrian access is open. That's what we've always wanted with regard to Main Street, but this is one of a handful of blocks that is proposed with vehicular gates. And so I do want to point out you've got a very similar condition along Cullum and 48th for Block 1. And although it's a rental project, you also have a very similar condition on Block 4 along the south side of 40th, where we do have gates for the rental apartment project, but we have units that front right up on the street for Block 4 as well. So I just kind of wanted to point that out for the commission. A few other points there. You'll notice there's a pocket park along 54th. That is technically outside. That's kind of outside of the block for the entirety of the Main Street area, but immediately proximate. Then you have an internal pocket park. Again, these are passive. There'll be some benches and some areas to walk your dogs, things of that nature. And then the area along Cullum Road, that, if you'll recall today, and we had quite a bit of conversation during the review of this block over the course of the last few years with your staff, that is currently a Cocomar drainage ditch. Literally a ditch. If you've driven out there, it's not terribly attractive. We had a very hard time, our civil engineer working with Cocomar, trying to figure out options and opportunities to do something a little more aesthetic. They've ultimately agreed and allowed us for the large majority of the frontage along Cullum to effectively close the ditch, culvert it, have certain aesthetic improvements within there. However, at the same time, and I believe a few of you were at the Cocomar meeting last week or the week before, there's only so much Cocomar is actually going to allow us to do within that area, but we are going to be putting aesthetic improvements within that area along Cullum Road and creating a linear park. So I think next is, gosh, these move so slowly. So the next item we wanted to share with you is, again, we mentioned earlier, the proximity of Block 9 to the Civic Node, in particular the Village Green, the proposed future uses of a parking garage and some other use concept on Block 13 to the east. And then secondly, and you're seeing this on October 10th with Block 15B, quite a bit of conversation on the clubhouse parcel going back several months. You can see a sneak peek of one of the renderings that we've prepared. The block's been reimagined and recreated based on a number of conversations and some site visits we had with a couple of you and your staff, and so we're very excited to present that to you in a couple of weeks as well. So the architecture for these blocks, what you're looking at here are the front-loaded garages. These are, the front-loaded townhomes. This is where the driveways are in the front. These are the units that are off of 54th. The next slide will show you the rear-loaded garages. And so you can see on the bottom of the screen there a number of the different architectural concepts that have been incorporated here. I've got a slide, a couple of slides from now, that will show you the architectural themes with colors, with materials that are being provided on the face of the building. You can see there's some limestone on the face of the building there. the concept that we've envisioned for each of the different blocks. Block 1 has a different theme and different color. Blocks 5 and 6, Block 8 and Block 9, and so you'll see that in just a moment. And then you can contrast that with a different building, but a similar style, with the rear-loaded townhomes. So these all front directly on 54th. And again, not exactly the same building, obviously different architectural style and slightly different use of materials to differentiate between the buildings, but keeping with the same theme. So this is a slide I was mentioning otherwise. You've seen and approved blocks 1, blocks 5 and 6. You can see the different architectural colors and concepts and themes. We really wanted to put a stamp on each of them throughout the Main Street project, but wanted each block to kind of have its own design and theme as well. And so this just gives you a little bit of look and feel into the 2 blocks you've seen. Block 8 obviously is still going through the review process, but this is the color concept and materials that are being proposed there. And obviously you've seen Block 9. We just tried to summarize it for you up in the top left corner. So you started, I think, going back to Block 1, we started sharing imagery and renderings of the interiors of the units. Obviously, these are not exact, but I think this is given some of the site visits that you've all done and some of the other floor plans that we've pulled together, some of the imagery that would be expected and typical within these units, with the primary bedroom, secondary bedrooms, living room, and kitchen. I also want to point out, I think very importantly, if you miss it at the top of the screen, although there are only 80 units within this development, we have 6 different building types, 3 building types for the front-loaded off of 54th, and then 3 different building types within the project. There are 10 different unit types. And so that provides a lot of a different optionality as well. The average unit size is just over 2,000 square feet, and these are 3 and 4 bedroom units. So this is one of the architectural renderings of the, if you're looking at 54th into the gates and into the project, you can see the units that front on 54th on the right and the left-hand sides, some of the architectural style associated with it, and then the more traditional driveways as you work your way down to the west.
Scott, did you put that Jeep in there for me?
Is there a Jeep? Oh, look at that. Just for you, Commissioner. So a rendering just kind of showing a little bit of the streetscape off of 54th with the front-loaded buildings, and you can get a better look and feel of how those buildings orient on the street with the knee wall and an access gate. Another view, this is looking from the northeast to the southwest, and just again shows some parallel parking, the bike path, the sidewalks, and then the units themselves. So this is the Pocket Park on the south side of 54th. So it's the southeast corner of 54th and Block 9. And again, the idea really being kind of something passive, something aesthetic. There's some walkways and trails that work their way through and then into Block 9 through one of the trellis features that we noted earlier. As Justin mentioned, staff is recommending approval. And last slide, just again, an update on where we stand. I can still remember when we didn't have any check marks on this page a little less than a year ago, and it's been a monumental task and effort, as you all know. We all speak pretty regularly, trade a lot of emails and comments with one another. So we're here tonight on Block 9. 15A and 15B are coming before you in 2 weeks. The roadway master plan, which I know we've discussed previously, is going to Planning and Zoning Board next week. We hope that it will be in front of you at the second meeting in October. And then that really doesn't leave a lot. It leaves Block 8, the green space master plan, which we are working with staff on and expecting comments shortly, and the development agreement. We understand Blocks 10 and 16, in all likelihood, as much as we are still working and pushing, will likely probably end up being approved post-closing. We all know we're running out of time. We have a December 16th closing date that's staring us all in the face. And again, appreciate everyone's efforts and look forward to answering questions and comments. Thank you.
Does city staff have any questions of the applicant?
No, we do not.
Does the applicant have any questions of city staff?
I don't, thank you.
All right, then. I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on item 13? Okay. Do the applicant or city staff want to? Okay.
We have no more comments.
No, Mayor.
All right. Public hearing is now closed. We'll now hear closing remarks.
None, just happy to answer any questions.
All right, then we have in the queue Commissioner Rydell and Vice Mayor Raley.
Thank you, Scott. Just going over a couple points. Can you just run me through, it's like you guys waste all this paper and give it to me, but I would love to see like just a fact sheet, and I don't know who's going to do it. You can do it. Run me through the room dimensions of the product. Because I look and I like can't see it, and maybe I'm just over 40 now, and like I don't have good eyesight, but I just want you to run me through the room dimensions, especially on a purchased product.
One of you guys in there?
Does Landon get to speak today? He does. Welcome to the big boy table.
Good evening. Landon Massel, 200 East Las Olas, Fort Lauderdale. So start with the bedrooms. Primary bedrooms, and we've got 10 different product types here, so I'll just give you kind of the general across the board, which is the primary bedrooms are about 12 by 12.
Don't give me general. So like, I just want you to be specific, Landon, and I'll tell you why. And on this product, so you average everything, right? Just on the presentation. I'm not looking to. I just want it on the record in terms of your 10 different unit types. Run me through the bedroom dimensions. And then also, I want to know high square footage and low square footage. I read it all. I know the answer. I want it on the record today in terms of what those dimensions are. That's what I want. Because we can't really read it on the hard printout. So that's just, I'm telling you what I want, so you could just run through it for me.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, Commissioner, we're going to take a second to make sure we pull together that specific information, and we'll come back and put it on the record. Absolutely.
In regarding your parking numbers, I think this is, you say spaces, and I just want to be clear on this. So let's go back to that slide.
Yeah, it's right here in front of you, I think.
It's out, you have it up already? I have it on my iPad, I'm sorry. Okay, so just to be clear, your parking numbers include garages?
Correct.
Okay, so I just want that, I don't know if my colleagues know that, I don't know if they don't, I just want it clear. So you're kind of borderline on the spaces, because you say parking spaces provide, it's not really parking. Are we calling a garage a parking space for purposes of development?
For purposes of the numbers provided, yes.
Okay.
They are. And they're, sorry?
No, please, Scott. I apologize.
There is language provided in the association documents to ensure that if it needs to be enforced, that residents are supposed to be using their spaces for parking, not necessarily, their garages for parking, not for storage. That's the goal. That's the push by the management company that's operating these areas. But if it needs to be enforced, that language is there as well.
So this is, I just look at this a little deeper, because I think when we're talking about a purchase product, it hangs a little different.
Sure.
So I took the road trip with you, and I went and met you up there a while ago. Would you say this product is similar to that product?
Yeah, I think it's actually superior to that product, yes.
Okay. Because that was nice. It was nice, and when I went in those bedrooms and things like that, and that's why I wanted it, because, I mean, heck, we broke a meeting before to talk about dimensions and things like that, and I think, I can tell you this, they look good, but like, if you try to like look on the actual, I mean, it's very difficult to read.
Sure.
And I just want to make sure.
It is difficult to read floor plans. We'll get you that information. I do want to make one distinction to the point that you're making. I think you're trying to distinguish for sale, which rightfully so. I think we shared this with you when you were there, that what you saw, although they were townhomes and they were similar in size, those are rentals.
Yep, I remember.
So this is a superior product to what you saw there for that reason alone.
This product, and this again goes to, I kind of know the answers, I just want to put it out there because I think it's important. This is garbage, for example. Every one of these units is going to have a garbage can. And under the potential bylaws, they're going to be keeping their garbage can in their
Correct.
garage.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. So that kind of gets into, I'm not trying to go down a route of like, I think the association documents, and I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse, because I'm going to say something I'm going to say to you that on your approval checklist, and I say it all the time, none of it matters unless the developer agreement is approved. You'd agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. Every meeting I say it, and I know it's the bane of your existence. And in regarding walkability, because this is something, this isn't a fully secured gated neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Until Landon's ready, and whenever he's ready, he can hop up, and I could defer to my colleagues until then, and then I want to just talk a little bit about that. I will tell you this, I like this product. I like the for sale product. I think it's a much, this is a great, candidly, family-friendly product. I don't think people realize some of the size of these units. That's why I want to put on the record your biggest units, because your biggest units are pretty big.
They're large, yes.
Yeah, those are large square footage units. So I think that the difference is pretty good. That's all. And I look forward to hearing the answers from your colleague.
Vice Mayor Rayleigh.
Thank you. Well, as you know, I'm significantly older than you. I use my phone and magnify the numbers to see.
I still couldn't do that.
I just want, you take a picture of it and then you can magnify it. But, okay.
Is that why you hit the buzzer? It's good. I should.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I do have a question, a couple of questions. The bike lane and the pedestrian lane, walkway, is there a level difference? Is there a break in it? Because what I'm concerned about is that a bike can rear into a pedestrian very easily unless there's something there that separates the two. Is there an elevation difference or a curve?
No, there's not. They're
I know it's a tripping
They're the same
hazard as
level. I thought they were different materials. They're not. There's a saw cut line to differentiate between the bike lane and the pedestrian lane. It's a very wide path, and so it can and should accommodate one on either side. People are supposed to stay in the bike lane.
Right. Well, we know what we're supposed to do. We don't always do it, however. Okay. I was concerned about that. Also, the pool area that you showed us, that beautiful pool area.
Sure.
Is it visible from the streets, from apartments, is there a privacy issue?
So
can there be?
I don't believe so. You'll see that in a very detailed presentation in 2 weeks. But hold on, I think it's the next slide. There we go. So it will be fenced, it will be landscaped, there will be 4-story units all the way across that lake, but this is designed to be resort-style amenities.
And be a view
so
for
we
the
don't
apartments.
anticipate that there's really going to be much of a view corridor from any of the adjacent residential.
Okay. And then during our meeting, I had mentioned, and I have to say, on the screen, it looks better than it does on paper, the buildings themselves.
Sure.
Again, I wouldn't want to stagger into or try to find my unit in the middle of the night. I could stumble into a neighbor's, but I was just wondering if there was, with texture or with color, adding some diversity, maybe every other, or maybe for the two in, or just some kind of aesthetic difference.
Yeah, again, I'll defer to Mike in a second, but we all discussed this a couple days ago in the morning. It's part of why we put that other slide together, because it's very similar to what we've done on, blocks 1 and 2 at least that were approved already. There's differentiation with building types between the buildings that are on 54th and interior to the community, and we feel like we've pulled together a really nice and warm color palette within this project. So, I mean, I think our desire would be not necessarily to change anything, but yeah. So.
Just a thought.
Yeah, understood. And we have thought about it since. Obviously, we put some of this together, and we've been talking about it a little bit further. Again, truthfully, our desire would be to stick with what we've proposed so far.
All right, thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Thank you, Mayor. So we spoke about this earlier today, and I appreciate you addressing it. You was one of your first things you were bringing up was the security gate. And I have a hard time, and regardless of what we approved in the past, I'm here today, and I'm having a hard time, with these rear load, the rear townhomes on the, I guess it would be the 5 and the 4 and the 8 along 54th. The 8, the 4, and the 5 along 54th, the east ones. Their doors are on the outside of the gate. Their doors, their entrances to their homes, rather than the garage, are on the outside of the security gate. To me, when I think of a security gate, I think of security. I think of preventing people from entering. Now, I understand there are... What?
In essence, right? And I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I appreciate the talk.
I don't think you can actually say, because it's just for vehicles, the gate entrance.
Correct.
So
That's right.
there
Correct,
is
I
no
understand.
basic security,
So
right?
I'm trying to figure out what is even the point of having a security gate if we're not going to secure the entire area.
Sure.
I understand the walkability, I get it. When I met with you this morning and I saw the picture, I'm just like, and you could show it here if you can. Let's go to the, one of the, can you find the graphic? Yep.
Slightly different than the one you saw this morning, but
Yeah, it's different. I didn't see this one this morning. This is a different one, but it still gives the same perspective because you could see on the left side of the picture the entrance to these homes. That I don't understand. It's like a false narrative of security. We have a security gate, a fake gate, okay, but yet now the front door to my home is open for everyone to come to. I find a problem with it. It doesn't sit well with me, especially when we're at this point of, a brand new development. I get it. If you're gonna have a security gate, I need the entire development secure, okay? Fobs, this and that. I know we talked about gates, we did a lot of gates on the one on Lions. But this, I don't know if the rest of the commission sees this, if they feel this, I don't know what. John, of course, chime in. Let's have a good dialogue here.
I think after visiting a lot of neighborhoods in Florida, a lot of times this is for a parking issue, right? This is to keep people from coming in and taking a space. So it's not about keeping people out, because the whole idea of Main Street was an open feel to it. Plus the front-loaded townhouses that's showing here in this picture, they actually have their individual gates in front of the doors. Yeah, rear-loaded. But they have individual gates in front of their doors.
Are those gates manually opened, or are they secure with some sort of fob into a home? Like he just said, the gate.
It's got a latch.
It's a latch.
It's a latch. It's a manual latch.
Yeah.
So they got individual gates, so you're not having somebody walk up to your door. There's going to be a 10 or 12 foot. If you look at the picture, it's kind of clear. But I think the design in here, and I've seen these all over Florida, it's a parking thing to keep people from parking in there and taking in case there's events. To keep them from losing their personal parking places. I've seen them all over Florida. I visit a lot of neighborhoods with the job I was in, and I see this a lot. It's not really security as it is keeping just people from stealing your parking places. I think that's the concept. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott.
It's a number of different things. It's a parking issue, especially given the proximity to the civic node, where people may choose, if it was open, to drive in and just park. It is a safety and security feature from a vehicular standpoint. Someone can't pull in with their pickup truck and take everything out of your place. I mean, there's a number of factors. I think those factors are part of it. The other really big component.
I'm sorry I cut you off, but what you just said, somebody could park along the road with their pickup truck, enter my home through my door, and do it that way on 54th.
Well, sure.
Just going about the argument you just made.
Sure, Commissioner, but that's the case everywhere in Main Street and probably throughout the vast majority of Coconut Creek and Florida and United
fair
States.
Enough. But then why have the security gate?
Well, that's the last point I was about to make. We've talked a lot throughout this entire project about customer preference, optionality. There are people that are going to be buying in Main Street that are going to want to live here and are going to want to live behind the gate in the units that are not on the street, but are going to want to live in the units that are also on the street. And so we're trying to provide some gated blocks, some ungated blocks. There was a point in time where we wanted to gate every block. I mean, that was taken off the table immediately, but we as a development team, and in particular the for sale developer here, are trying to provide as many different options so that people that decide to come and choose to live here, families, individuals, young professionals, whatever it may be, have options and choices. And some of them would prefer to live behind gates such as this. And so that's why it's there. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. There are front doors on 54th, and there is less security as a result. The alternative, and your staff can attest to this, there is a point in time on Block 9 that we proposed a development block that had all front-loaded driveway townhomes with the backs of our units on 54th. We were told, no chance, get lost. This is a better site. This is a better site plan. We're asking for some consideration to allow the customer to make that decision.
Does anybody else have something to say about this? I just wanted to,
I did.
before I move on to my next thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. My only concern, if you look at go to the aerial, Scott, where you have things listed. I've said this kind of all along. Probably not going to be a popular.
I'm assuming this one here?
Yeah, that's fine, Scott. That's fine.
There we go.
Yeah, my only concern is when you look is the north. You got two issues here that I see. You got the north boundary, you got the south boundary. You would perceive that there should be some fencing as opposed to openness.
There is.
So talk to me about what is between Column Road and the parking spots in the inside of the development. What's there?
There is, along that dotted red line, so inside our property line, because we had to be outside the Cocomar easement, there is a 2.5-foot aluminum picket fence. With the exception, hold on, let me go to this next slide, with the exception of the two stars, which will pop up here in a second, that are trellis features that provide pedestrian and bicycle access into the community.
So it's very, Commissioner, it's very similar to what on Lions.
Block 1, yes.
Right, like we did.
That's
and
exactly
we have like we added the fencing to that.
That's
with
exactly
the trellis.
Right. Very yes.
But the one on Lions was more than.
Yeah. Right?
The fence that at one point we didn't have a fence during the commission meeting. You all asked for that. I don't remember truthfully the height of the fence that we agreed to.
Here's my concern.
I think it was 6 foot.
Just to give you my thought.
Do you remember?
If this all goes how it goes, right? You're going to have big events at the Village Green. You're going to have big events at Block 12, and you're going to be on the tail end of the casino, right? I think if I'm not talking building a whole wall, but I think I'd like to see on certain subsect areas some fencing.
And again, on the west side, right, there's the car dealership and the lake. You can kind of see it. There's a 5-foot high fence. On the south side, adjacent to the drainage area for the casino, 5-foot high fence. The reason for what's the word I'm looking for? The reason for the design along the linear park and along Cullum was to provide for we wanted the community to be seen and to be present. 2.5 feet is ultimately what was agreed upon, so that this development and the people that live in it have access and feel like they're on Cullum Road. Again, Main Street as a whole, and we had this conversation when we talked about Block 1 and Lyons Road and why there wasn't a fence at one point, but ultimately we put one up. There was concern about balls bouncing into Lyons Road, that kind of thing, and we got to a place where we were comfortable. It just goes against the design guidelines that that have been in place before we got here, and then that we all put in place, that you all approved, that we developed in accordance with. I'll be honest, and I don't have, my client can weigh in. I don't know that we really care one way or the other if it's a slightly higher fence, if that's what the commission decides. I'm just explaining why it is what it is right now. Right? Yeah. So So if you want a slightly higher fence, I still don't think 5 feet makes sense, because we're trying to provide and encourage the people that live here and the people that are in the general public realm to interact with one another.
Let's just say that the city of Coconut Creek hosts a grub and dance. What's the new thing called? Grub and Groove. I apologize. Let's say we host a new Grub and Groove at the Village Green. There's a liquor truck. People are enjoying, having a great time. All of a sudden, people from the Village Green start meandering their way to this for sale neighborhood, right? They can make their way in. They could jump a 2.5-foot fence, or they can walk through a trellis.
Just walk right through, sure.
Yeah, they can walk right through. Now all of a sudden we have people loitering in the neighborhood. We have to me, and maybe it's a law enforcement question, I'm not entirely sure, but these are things that I think we're supposed to be thinking about up here when we make these decisions, all and if, and that's kind of where I'm at. I agree with increasing the height of the fence on the north part along Cullum, and maybe sealing off the trellises. I'm not sure. I don't know what the rest of the commission agrees with, but if I'm spending $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 on a townhouse and it has a gate, I would really prefer to have it protected from people coming in. And maybe people disagree, and we could leave it to the consumer, but I'd rather right now not leave it to the consumer, because we haven't even built a building yet.
Vice Mayor Raley.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining the concept of the gates, even though the community is open. I understand the need now for the vehicular restriction. I understand that. And as far as the walking and the access by, say, non-residents to the area, every one of us that buys a private home, right? We're wide open. We're wide open for anyone walking up to our door. We're wide open for anybody coming in our backyards, unless, of course, you have a fence around your property completely and closed gates. But that doesn't bother me so much. I mean, as long as I think it's everyone's responsibility to secure their property, whether it be with cameras, whether it be with the ring. But what I do like is the fact of worrying about the safety of vehicular traffic on the open road. As far as, like, say, Cullum or 54th Street, and you have cars going up and down, and if somebody veers into your house, there's nothing to stop it. But at least a gate would slow it down. But, so I agree with that we should have some kind of restriction to protect them from the road. But as far as walkways and stuff, you still want to keep it accessible, to have that urban feel. Okay, that's how I feel.
Okay. I'm not going to talk fences. But I did want to circle back about what Vice Mayor Rowley brought up about the, the same look of all of the units, regardless of front or rear, because I did bring it up in my conversation when we met. And I appreciate the 4 diagrams of the pallets of the other blocks, but especially with those that are 8 in a row, I think that there needs to be some differentiation between them to make them look a little unlike. I still feel it's important, and still stay within the same palette, not anything radical, but just something that kind of breaks it up throughout the block. And then we did talk about adding the condition of the same security as in Block 1, and I don't know if that included the mail kiosk as well.
Oh, thank you. I actually meant to mention that. Let me address the architecture first.
Okay.
Because I want to be very careful about how we address this. We're, as I mentioned, right, that's why I put this slide back up. We're trying to keep a particular color and architectural theme, consistent, compatible, but not the same, so there's a stamp on each of the blocks. They look like a different neighborhood. I understand the comments that both you and the Vice Mayor have made. We can agree to, a slightly a different color, a different shade, accenting, or the building, so we'll have maybe two different options so that they can be differentiated, and we'll get with staff and identify, building A, building B, building A, building B, that kind of thing. And I just want to be clear, at least for the record, we don't necessarily know what that color is, but it will be within the same palette and just, slightly different. So it all looks the same but different, I think. Is that acceptable?
That is exactly
Okay.
what I was,
Okay. So
looking
we'll work with staff.
You just said it way better than me.
All right, thank you.
Or, yes.
And then as it relates, and I'll go back to the site plan, yes, this conversation I think has come up certainly on Block 1 at a minimum. And you may recall, I believe originally it was Commissioner Rydell that had suggested on Block 1 that we create some sort of enclosure around the mail kiosk. There was some time in between the first meeting and the second meeting. We spent some time looking at it, and there was further safety consideration if we actually created an enclosure, right? Trapping someone inside, something like that. So what we all agreed to, both your staff and mine, went back, reviewed the tape, was that we would strategically locate security cameras oriented toward the mail kiosk. And so we will agree to do the same thing here. And the mail kiosk, it's over by the Pocket Park. You'll see it on this next slide. So there we go.
And I said I wasn't going to talk fences, but you did say where the fence is located now, currently, as it reads, is in a 2.5 foot.
Correct. It's 30 inches. That's right, along Cullum, and where there's fencing along Northwest 54th Avenue between buildings or surrounding the Pocket Park there. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, I got to be honest, and I said this earlier, I don't know that we care all that much, but we all spend a lot of time, and in particular with staff, trying to go from Main Street design standards to a PMDD with design standards, and that's what we designed in accordance with. And so I understand, and you're now just seeing this particular block for the first time, and it sparks an issue or an idea, but the whole idea or concept behind Main Street going back 20-something years was that it was going to be open and pedestrian-oriented, and so, look, I hope that there's, I can't even remember the name of the little event that you mentioned that you guys do. We want nothing more.
I don't think it's happened yet. It's to be happening. It's combining the concert and the food trucks, right, Commissioner Wasserman?
Yes.
But my point is, as Commissioner Wasserman was saying that, and I think you all agree, we want this to be a place in Coconut Creek that is what we've all envisioned, what our team really bought into, what the city's been thinking about. But the idea and the concept of all of the residential around it, it's all accessible. And that was really the idea and the vision. And like I said, whatever the commission decides, I think we're generally okay with, but we designed in accordance with what we all put forward when you approved the PMDD about a year ago.
Okay, then would you want to take it? I wanted to ask again if you could clarify when you mentioned a long column covering the 72-inch pipe and working out an agreement with Cocomar. And what would you say you were putting on top of there? Not trees or not landscaping, but what goes on top of there?
At the moment, there's a path. We can certainly put sod. We had envisioned, and you can see on the plan there and others, that we would certainly add additional landscaping materials, which is what we all want.
I mean, well, what we heard from Cocomar
Well, that's what I was about to reference, yeah.
That if trees and things were planted on, it was covered and things were planted on it, how would they get, if there were an obstruction, or how would they get in to repair it if it were completely enclosed? And that's all I wanted to just make sure on record that it's taken care of. And they will be able to get in there and have access to do whatever they need to do with that.
They will. And Jay
pipe.
can maybe clarify, we've heard as recently as the meeting last week and prior to that, very recently, that they really don't want anything substantial in
Right.
their easement, and that creates a bit of a problem for what we've all been discussing, but at least it's not a ditch. So,
Okay,
I don't
right.
know if
It'll be a
how-
pipe, right?
Correct. My name is Jay Hubner with HSQ Group. I have been sworn in. We've been dealing with Cocomar for quite a long time, even to convert this ditch to the linear park that the city wanted and put in a 72-inch culvert. In doing so, we're actually expanding the easement a little bit to cover the pipe that we're putting in, and we're giving them a 20-foot wide easement over the pipe, and that area has to stay clear for their maintenance purposes whatsoever. But what we did strategically is put the sidewalk right over top of that, because you could drive over the sidewalk, for instance, and they can maintain it there, and they're okay with that. You just can't have above-ground obstructions that would not allow them to drive their heavy equipment over there to maintain it. So we
That's all.
designed around all that the best we could.
That's all I needed to hear. Thank you very much. All right, so Commissioner Wasserman, I believe he's in the next.
Yes, I wanted to finish the fence. So the 3 trellis, the 3 stars are the only 3 walkable entrances to this property?
As well as the light blue line, which is a sidewalk next to the gated and the vehicular entrance.
It's okay. Nothing on the west side?
No.
So is there a fence along that?
Yes, 5 foot high.
Okay. And then on the north side, we're at 2.5 feet.
2.5. South side is 5 feet.
And the south side is so we have the 1, the 2, the 3 entrances through the trellises, and then the sidewalk blue arrows. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like the north to be 6 feet. Or 5 feet to be uniform across. I'd rather them all be 6 feet, to be honest. But I don't know if the commission's okay with that. I mean, we're 6 feet out on Lions. I'd be okay with these being 6 as well. But 2.5 feet is not okay with me. It's easily jumpable. Somebody could walk right over it. And if we're not going to secure the entire property, I at least want some security, some peace of mind for future tenants who buy here. And I think that's our job to do. So hopefully I can get a condition of approval for 6 feet fencing on the north end, the west, and the south.
Just point of clarification, our code does not allow a fence to exceed 5 feet.
Then 5 feet it is.
And if I may make another point of clarification, our PMDD does not allow the fence along Cullum to be more than 30 inches, requires a variance from our design standards. So I don't know how that works.
What do you mean 30 inches? 30 inches thick?
2.5 feet.
Oh, tall. Oh, height. Okay. Yeah,
I don't think he mentioned color. Well,
He said the north.
oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone?
If you're saying that it requires a variance, a separate variance would have to be applied for in order to move forward with it.
I don't know. I don't know the technical term of the type of deviation that would be required. We have an approved PMDD with design guidelines. Our design guidelines are very clear that we can't have fencing. I don't know if it's along all major roads, is it, or is it just Cullum, Michelle? Right. So it can, the code that is established for Main Street can exceed 30 inches, 2.5 feet. I'll defer to city staff as to what the process is, but we can't just deviate from it as a condition of approval, I don't believe. I'll also say, I just have to, and again, all due respect, I understand the conversation that we're having. I think it's a bad idea. It's the aesthetic of why we're trying to put the lower fence along Cullum. It makes sense, and we're not trying to close off this community. If that were the case, again, all due respect, and Sheila's not going to like this, I'd request us to go back and modify our site plan and just have the backs of our units on Northwest 54th Avenue and have the whole project enclosed. I'm saying it for effect, Sheila. Saying it for effect. It just doesn't, we've all gotten comfortable and designed in accordance with standards that we've established for a very long time, and and I hate that I'm sitting here advocating for it because I say I don't care, but it just doesn't make good planning sense with how Main Street's been designed, so.
Well, before I move forward, is there a taste on the commission to find a way to do this before I even move forward? I mean, if there's not a taste for it, I mean, if I'm the only one, then it is what it is. But is there a taste to do what I just said and have 5-foot fencing on the north, the west, and the south, keep your trellises, keep your walkability entrances, but is there a taste on the dais for that?
So I have major concerns on the north end of the property. I would like to see some security. I'm troubled by the master plan PMDD issue that arises that would require a different variance. So I don't know the answer to that. What are you going to sell one of these units for?
I believe these are probably sell somewhere at $600,000 or more.
So, you know, I hate to make a categorical reference, but if you look at, like, you go on Hillsborough, you look at like in the Pines, you can't just walk in there, right? It's a driving community, it's secured walls. I understand the concept, I'm torn. I mean, I get it, because I've been big on security, especially on Lyons Road. This is a little bit of a different node, you know, and there's already going to be existing fencing all around the property. But that being said, the other side of that coin is I think there needs to, if the answer isn't a fence, right, what could the answer be? I'll just leave that question out there, and I don't know the answer to that, because.
So,
yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't know what that answer is. I don't know if a thicker buffer would trellis it.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Justin wants to
I just want to point out
Yes.
a couple, so what we haven't talked about in this discussion yet is the landscape buffer that exists there. Perhaps the applicant would like to talk about what's proposed. In addition to the fencing materials, there's a landscape buffer that also encompasses the entire perimeter as well. We're probably going to want to talk about that. That has a height to it. It's got a minimum planting height, I believe, of 24 inches to 30 inches, and it will grow higher than that in the future, of course. Landscaping materials, in addition to fencing materials, often provide a very good buffer. They're not, of course, security. They're not a fully gated fob access to security system, but they do provide a good barrier for people from just casually walking back and forth.
So
that
that
out.
buffer would be in excess of any 30-inch fencing?
Yeah, eventually it will be, yes, because those things usually grow 3-4 feet high, depending on what, you know, the
And
preference
that's
of the
what
community.
we will be seeing soon?
It'll probably take a little while for those.
No, I
yeah.
mean, the plan.
And if I may, good evening. This is Michelle Cutera with Urban Design. We're the landscape architects for the block. I have not been sworn in yet. I apologize. I came in late, so if I need to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Regarding the buffer, so this is kind of a combination of, we were talking earlier where the Cocoa Mark drainage ditch is, that's 40 feet of a buffer that's outside of our block. Then we have our property line where the 30-inch tall fence is, and our own interior landscape buffer is 8 to 10 feet, I believe, within our site. So along that fence line, we will have that 30-inch tall hedge that will get installed at that height. We could accept a condition of approval that will allow that to grow and be maintained, say at 48 inches, whatever it may be. Now, mind you, we have been told by the police department they would prefer not to have tall hedges for security and septet reasons. But for right now, we have the hedges. We also have trees at about 15 to 20 feet on center within our own site. And then within the park itself, there's additional layers of trees. So there is a substantial landscape treatment there.
So the other, I just want, okay,
Commissioner Rydell,
sorry, Mayor.
that's fine.
Just, I have one other thought that I think matters. I'll give you an example from my first neighborhood I lived in Coconut Creek. When I moved in my first neighborhood, neighbors that had a very big backyard, an unsecured backyard buffer, we'll call it. It was a wide open nature area. You know, 5 years down the road, those same neighbors came to the association and wanted to plant a pretty thick buffer hedge. We have to have some consideration, and I don't know the answer of where that goes on it, that eventually there's going to be 80 people sitting on an association board making determinations of how they want to continue living, you know, and they're going to know the area when they buy there. So they may, if there's a security issue when this is built out, they have the ability of addressing it, how they want to address it. Now, I'd like to hear more on a buffer, but I think you have an association, and I say that more so because some of the other products I think we were harder on weren't purchased products. on a purchased product, I do believe we have to figure out a security answer, but I also believe we have to weigh the concept that you're going to have 80 people that are going to want a seat at the table to say, what does it look like? And you may have somebody buying one of those northeast units that's excited and wants to be able to easily walk out, or maybe they're a family at Monarch and they want their kids to walk to and from school. So, I mean, the consumer angle, I think, is real. I would just like an answer to some security. Maybe it's not a fence. Maybe it's a buffer. Maybe it's some sort of camera. I don't know. We have a real-time crime center in the city that allows us to track it. So I don't know what that necessarily looks like, but I'm sure there's some sort of creative solution that's not going to be a cost impediment to the developer, that's going to work in conjunction with city resources, that I'd like to see. But I don't know if Mr. Backman heard anything I
Can
said.
I give 2 cents there?
I was listening to all of it. I was trying to come up with brainstorm ideas.
I'm a big eye contact guy. And then at one point, I'd like to hear from Landon. But
Yes,
yeah,
we're
that's fine.
ready for
Commissioner
that,
Rydell,
too.
can I say something?
That's the mayor.
May I, Mayor?
Yes.
So when they built my neighborhood in Winston Park, there was no fences. The concept was open back-to-back houses. There was no fences between any of them. The neighbors started putting ficus in to grow up their privacy shrubs. Over the years, they built fences by the code. So they got what they wanted, because if they wanted a fence, they could go back to the city and ask for it. I think that's a great concept, allowing them to have that decision. That's my 2 cents on that. I think it worked out in our neighborhood.
But you know what's different, John?
What's that?
It's different Winston Park, east and west. So for example, one side of Winston Park got a wall. The other didn't.
Right. My side didn't get a wall. We ended up getting it out.
And that's, I guess, we're talking about more because it's a main thoroughfare. But I'm agreeing with you, but it's interesting, and that was a city decision, so it's...
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I'm kind of like a little bit from A and B here. So, I think that, Commissioner Rydell has a point. I think that Commissioner Wasserman has a point. So let's find a happy medium, guys.
Because in all reality, I didn't really have any discussions about the linear park and all of that it is entailed there in that northern part running along Cullum Road. I don't know, maybe you did, I didn't.
In terms of our individual meetings, none of this was really discussed. The
Right.
security discussion was, but otherwise, again, there's a 30-inch fence because that's all that we're allowed to do, and there's landscaping, as Michelle described, along with the trellises. What I was over talking to Mike about, Commissioner, while I was listening to you as well, is you mentioned the idea of maybe security cameras. I don't know. It's a hard commitment to make because we don't know if the infrastructure is there and available to then tie in and attach to the real-time crime center. If it is and that's a solution, then maybe that works, but it's a hard commitment to make. Again, I'm struggling. We knew this conversation to an extent was going to take place. I don't know that we fully anticipated we were all of a sudden going to start talking about fully securing the entirety of the block. That doesn't exist with any of the blocks. And you saw my slide that showed all the green on it. Any of the blocks that you've approved to date, they all have pedestrian access and connections.
Right, and I don't think I asked for a complete. I said the trellises would remain.
No, right. Jeff, that's a little, Scott, I apologize for interrupting. Scott, that's not necessarily a fair qualifier due to the location of this block, due to the surrounding of this block. So while I just a point of clarification, I don't think by us approving other blocks in different areas that may be internalized or in different subsects of the Main Street rack, I think this is a little different due to the outlying nature of this plot. If this was I wouldn't be having this conversation. If you flipped blocks 10, if you flipped the two parcels we're looking at, I wouldn't even be having this conversation. I wouldn't be necessarily agreeing if it was right directly across from the Village Green. This is an outlier plot, a block away from 441.
Sure, and I don't disagree. I want to be clear.
I don't think it's apples and apples.
No, and I understand that, and we've advocated for each block to be treated somewhat differently as well. My point, as I continue to make it, and again, we want to collectively find a solution. It's just a matter of what that solution is. We just went and double-checked again. I don't know if staff has an answer. We believe we would need a variance to go to anything higher than 30 inches. We don't want to apply or go through that, really. I mean, if it can be done as a condition condition of approval. I don't know that we're really going to die on our sword over this issue of raising the height of a fence there. It's just that, again, we've been designing all of this and working very hard to get all of it right in accordance with design guidelines, and now we're starting to just pick each individual block apart by pieces with concepts like pedestrian connectivity that were supposed to expand throughout all of Main Street regardless of where the block was. But Commissioner, I don't disagree with you in terms of where it's located across the street from a car dealership. I understand your point. I'm just wrestling with how we get to a solution.
So Madam City Attorney, is there, for this variance, what would need to be done in order for us to see this through? I think Commissioner Rydell is on board. I mean, his energy is pushing towards it. I'm not 100% certain. I don't know where the mayor is. Commissioner Brody? And then Vice.
You know, the for sale nature of this is what is, honestly, if this was a rental community.
Correct.
If this was a rental community, I would be 1,000% on board with a fence. The fact that it's a purchase community, somebody knows what they're buying. That's the only difference I have. So
I thought you were going a different route. I apologize.
No, but that's what I'm struggling with right now, because I think security is needed there. That's why I'm looking for maybe a creative solution that doesn't necessarily jeopardize the walkability component. Maybe I just don't know what that is today.
Mayor, we were just discussing if people would be on board for a variance to increase the height to 5 feet. I didn't know where you stood on that, so I mean.
Well, I really wanted to hear more about everything that was entailed in the buffer, especially in that linear park that runs directly north of it, to see what that entails in addition to what that 30-inch, how big is 30 inches anyway? About like so. Because it does sound significant.
So are you okay with increasing it to 5 feet?
Let me clarify something that
I think we need more detail about what is entailed in the linear park in the way of buffers, in addition to what that.
And that's subject of the next application, which is the roadway and parks master plan. So the area surrounded in green and the small pocket park will be presented as a part of the whole package. And so that we'll see more.
So we'll be able to revisit this exact topic in a further meeting. If we approve this today.
I would not suggest that's the case, because that is part of the Cocomar right-of-way, and I wouldn't think you'd be able to put a fence in that right-of-way. So no, I don't think you would. I think you'd only be looking at whatever type of landscaping or additional buffer would be in that space.
But they're already putting a 2.5-foot fence.
The 2.5-foot fence is proposed to be on their property line, not on the Cocomar easement.
Right, I'm not talking about the Cocomar. I'm talking about increasing the 2.5-foot fence to 5 feet. That is what I'm talking about.
I understand what you're talking about.
On their property.
Is
there something wrong? I don't understand.
Would it be appropriate to maybe ask for a 5-minute recess so we can all, we got 6 people on my team, we're all talking different ideas, maybe we'll come up with a solution. We want to get this approved this evening, so is that? Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. No, the dimensions the dimensions to me are important, because I think it's important based on some of the discussions we've had about lacking room sizes. Landon?
Yep.
Please, sir.
Okay. 10 unit types. First unit, master bedroom, is 12 and a half feet by 12. Second bedroom, 11 by 10. Third bedroom, 11 by 10 feet and 3 inches. Second unit, master bedroom, is 12 and a half by 12. Second bedroom is 11 by 10. Third bedroom is 11 by 10 and 3 inches. The third unit the master is 12 and a half by 12. Second bedroom is 11 by 10. Third bedroom is 11 by 10. Fourth unit is a 3-bedroom, and the master is 13 feet and 2 inches by 13 feet and 4 inches. The second bedroom is 11 by 10 and a half. The third bedroom is 10 feet and 10 inches by 10 and a half feet. The next unit is a 4-bedroom. The master is 11.5 by 14 feet and 8 inches. The second bedroom is 10.5 by 11 feet and 2 inches. The third bedroom is 11.5 by 10 feet. The fourth bedroom is 10 feet and 4 inches by 10 feet and 10 inches. The next unit is a 3-bedroom. The master is 16 feet and 4 inches by 12 feet and 1 inch. The second bedroom is 10 feet and 2 inches by 10 feet. The third bedroom is 10.5 feet by 11 feet. The next the next unit is a 4-bedroom. The master is 11.5 by 14 feet and 8 inches. The second bedroom is 11.5 by 10. The third bedroom is 10 feet 4 inches by 10 feet and 10 inches. The fourth bedroom is 10 feet and 5 inches by 11 feet and 2 inches. The next unit is a 4-bedroom, 11 feet and 5 inches by 14 feet and 8 inches. The second bedroom is a 10-foot, 5 inch by 11 feet and 2 inches. Third bedroom, 10 feet, 4 inches by 10 feet, 10 inches. Fourth bedroom, 11 feet, 6 inches by 10 feet. Next unit type is a 3-bedroom. The master is 12 foot 1 inch by 14 feet 1 inch. The second bedroom is 10 feet 8 inches by 11 feet 1 inch. Third bedroom 10 feet 2 inches by 11 feet 5 inches. And the last unit type is a 3-bedroom. The master is 12 feet 2 inches by 11 feet 9 inches. Second bedroom is 10 feet 6 inches by 10 feet. Third bedroom is 10 feet 6 inches by 10 feet.
Could you give me your highest square footage unit? Yeah. Thank you, Landon. Can you give me your highest square footage? You don't need to read all 10. I just want to know highest to lowest.
Yeah. So
I appreciate this because I know we belabored a lot of previous conversations on actual room sizes. So I just want to know your max and your min.
Yes, for sure. I got you.
And could you, and Scott, if you could, I'm not putting you on the spot because I can look back on this. I'm just situationally, if you want to just tell me.
I have it from your email, okay.
Yep.
Because I thought your biggest units were your inbound units when I looked through the backup.
So our biggest unit is 2217 square feet. Our smallest unit you asked for?
Yeah.
That is 1657.
Okay. And when I read here, it looked to me that your smallest ones are all on the westward property based on the different size of the units.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, how I read this, because when I'm reading my backup, it looks like what I'll call your bigger units, better units, I don't know, more square footage units seem internalized with your back border unit being the smaller units. Is that, I'm just curious the rhyme or reason for that, or just how you guys developed it? Mike?
I'm sorry, I don't think I followed the question. Or what you're describing, I'm struggling to follow.
I guess I'm trying to was there a methodology to where you placed the bigger units? Because when you look at the site plan of the bigger unit, they're nice. You got 4-bedroom places in there. You got these are really nice townhouses. So I just didn't know if there was a methodology of where you placed the big units versus the small units.
We have building types, and all of our building types have a certain model, on the end unit, and the next unit is a specific model type, right? And so our building types are specific. The actual layout was more of a site planning exercise.
Okay, back to fencing. Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Especially on things we're talking for purchase. Landon, welcome to presenting.
The big time.
Do you, 5-minute
if we
recess?
could, we've got a few ideas floating around. If we could have 5 minutes to talk, that would be helpful.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Are you ready? No, we're not. He said he didn't need it now.
No, I said we did.
We
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Well,
Before you take the break, I just have a question about, and then on a totally different subject.
Sure.
About the purchase units. If someone came to you, I don't know if you're going to do pre-construction sales or how these sales are going to work, but if I wanted to come to you and say I wanted the unit pre-wired for speakers, for alarm systems, is that a possibility?
No, so like a specialty wiring within the
Yes,
unit. I mean,
so to
all of the
speak, that
units
before the
are
walls and the
pre-wired
ceilings
for
go
most
up.
of that stuff,
Right.
but it's not
Speakers
specific
in the
to
ceiling.
an individual, right?
Right. No?
Right, we don't, right, yeah, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
All right,
All right, we're on recess
We'll be right
till
back.
9:05.
thank you.
Mr. Backman?
Mayor, thank you. Okay, after discussions with my team and with your staff, I believe that an interpretation can be made from the PMDD regulations to allow the fence along Cullum to be 5 feet high. So if that is acceptable and a condition of approval, that is something that we will agree to.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Can we just, if it looks good?
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, sorry.
The gate's going to be similar to the consistency of what we did on Lions Road, right?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. And on the break, I took a brief phone call from my daughter, my older daughter, who's listening to the meeting, and asks, are the stars on the top going to have gated doors as well?
They are not.
Rachel, they are not. That's all.
That's very good. So I do want to ask, Scott, do we need to make a condition for the security to be the same as in the other block for the mail kiosk, or no?
I would tell you, because we went back and looked at the resolution for Block 1, and it was not in there technically, based on, I think, the review that your staff did and mine did. We agreed and committed to do something, but truthfully, if we all want to make sure it happens, it should probably be listed in the resolution as a condition. That's my opinion. I'll leave that to your city attorney, but it's probably a lot more assurances that it happens that way.
City Attorney Hyburn?
No, I don't have any objection to it.
To making it a condition, not making it a condition?
To making it a condition.
Then, do I pass the gavel? I'd like to make a motion that we consider a special condition for the security to be the same on Block 9 for the mail kiosk as it is in Block 1.
A second.
All right? Okay.
Should we partner it up with the other? Are we gonna, we have to make a motion for the fence as well? Yes. Mhm. Yes. I'd like to make a motion also to amend on a condition of approval of the fence along Cullum Road to be 5 feet.
Second.
All right.
Okay.
Then
Excuse
we
me.
should,
Can I just clarify the motion to be consistent with the interpretation? The fence along the northern property line, can the motion read the fence along the northern property line and not say Cullum Road? Thank you.
Yeah.
would you like to rephrase it, Commissioner Wasserman?
Yes.
Hold on.
Oh.
Please. May I, Mayor? Yes. I just want to hear their input. Staff, Justin, Scott, do you have input on the fence thing? Because we're talking about it up here. I just want to know what they think, too.
You want to know what the interpretation is in terms of the
I don't want to know the interpretation. I want to know your opinion.
The fence, I'll tell you what the code will allow. The fence, the code will allow you to put up to a 5 foot, 6 foot, if you please, depending on the height and the landscaping, along the northern property line, because that faces a park, not a street, and along the southeast corner along the pocket park, the area that's along the pocket park. Those are not streets. Those are interior areas that are facing a park. Now, the other areas in front of the townhomes, those are going to be restricted to the lower heights.
You really didn't answer the question. So you give a recommendation, right?
Yeah.
Your recommendation. Are you recommending us to make this amendment? I just want to hear.
Yes,
Scott's
I am.
coming in.
Yes, I'm recommending.
Scott.
Let me make it clear. Yes, I agree that an amendment to do this type of fencing would be in compliance with the code. Anything?
I would just add, and again, Scott Staudenmeyer for the record, I would add that since we have dealt with this issue previously on Block 1 along Lions Road in very similar fashion, I think now it is more appropriate to consider this type than we would have had we not done anything on Block 1.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I apologize for interrupting. Yeah. Commissioner Wasserman.
Let's call up.
Commissioner
what'd you say?
Wasserman.
Precedent.
If I-
Yeah, well, okay.
Sorry. If I could, just really quickly, when you're ready to vote on this amendment, perhaps because there were two separate motions, normally you would have to vote on each one unless one of the makers of the motion basically takes the other item and adopts it as their own.
So real quick, I also have, before we do that, I just have one other possible amendment. That's all. I just want to ask about it.
Well, we have to deal with these,
You want to package?
unless you want to package them up.
It's just another thought that was brought up, and I'm just curious. Was there any consideration of 2 mail kiosks? 2 mail kiosks?
No.
You didn't have your mic on for that, so is that a no?
Yes. Yes, that's a no.
Okay, that's all.
So Commissioner Wasserman, do you want to combine or do you want me to?
You got it?
All right. So I've already made one motion. Do I need to?
If you want to just pass the gavel and say that you adopt what Commissioner Wasserman said as it relates to the fence.
I would like to adopt what Commissioner Wasserman suggested about the fence along the property line, the north property line of Block 9, in addition to what I proposed.
And I think that previously it was Commissioner Rydell that had seconded your original motion. Commissioner Rydell, would you like to second this?
I second the expanded amendment.
Great, thank you.
City Clerk Kavanaugh, may we vote on the expanded amendment? The amendment?
Commissioner Rydell.
On the amendment, yes.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Raley.
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes.
Thank you. See you in a couple weeks.
Wait, we got to vote on the, no.
Now we have to vote on the item
Itching to
as
get out of here.
He's in a big hurry to get out of
You
here.
heard our family.
Do you want to talk about more?
No,
No,
City
thank
Clerk,
you.
no, I'll call the question. City Clerk, can we call the roll, please, on the item?
Commissioner Rydell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wasserman.
Yes.
Commissioner Brody.
Yes. I'm just,
Vice Mayor Raley.
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you in a couple of weeks.
All right, we'll now have the city manager's report.
Good evening. Just some, very quickly, one, thank you very much for supporting me in attending the ICMA National Conference. I am inspired and learned a great deal. I also traveled with Director of HR, Pam Kershaw, and I think she got a taste of a bunch of city managers and their thoughts, and so it was a really great event. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the repurposing or redefining our schools.
Okay.
I know many of you were engaged in the meeting. There's, what we've done is, had the original meeting with Dr. Wanza. Bernadette Hughes, on behalf of the city staff, attended the meeting. We have spoken with several of the school board members, and we are expecting that on September 30th, we will have Dr. Wanza attending our lunch bunch meeting, so we will all be speaking with her about our thoughts related to Coconut Creek Elementary School. We do expect there to be a workshop on October 8th, and a final decision meeting is scheduled for October 15th. As I mentioned briefly, the city staff presented the concept of gradually expanding Coconut Creek Elementary to a K-8 program. And we've tried to continue pushing that mission forward. I just wanted to make sure everybody was on board with that idea. I mean, we actually don't have the final say, but we do think it's a great opportunity to continue to foster the coolness of the Coconut Creek Education Corridor. If kids were able to attend Coconut Creek Elementary, through middle school and then matriculate on to Coconut Creek High School. The two options that the school board has presented are that K-8 program or potentially an early fee-based early childhood learning program. So those are the two things that I think they're studying. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, go ahead.
So I don't have thoughts personally, but I'll share thoughts with two members of people that work in that school right now. I talked to two people. I coached with one of them. I kind of gave them the options, and another young woman that's a second grade teacher over there. Talked to them both. These are basketball parents I know, and they both were pretty set in wanting it in early childhood education, not K through 8. Okay. And these are employees currently there. So that was their feeling. My feeling is as long as it's open, that's really my feeling, candidly. But that seemed to be the sentiment of staff. Now, that's not parents, that's staff. And they both, and again, both of the people I talked to happen to be Coconut Creek residents as well.
And our understanding is that would be a fee-based program.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Or you can, my understanding was you can qualify depending on the VPK type programs, it's fee-based, but depending on certain parameters, it's free. So there's an income aspect to some of that as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Wasserman?
I agree with the sentiment of anything but closing, 100%. My goal is to keep kids in Creek, keep students in Creek. I don't want them going to Margate Middle. I don't need them leaving after Coconut Creek Elementary to a charter school. If we can keep our students in Creek, that's my goal. And we're on the cusp of doing something really, I think, unique and special, and keeping kids in their school, keeping that comfortability, mentoring younger students also. A lot of those middle school kids can work with the lower school. I see it where I'm currently at, where we have a lower, a middle, and a high school, where the high school kids, for example, go and they read to the lower school. I like building that in. It teaches responsibility, it can teach mentorship, and we keep our kids in Creek, and that's where I'm at. So I'm a K through 8. I'm a K through 8 guy, but at the same time, if it comes back with an early childhood, I'm not opposed. I just need to make sure, and I think all 5 of us need to make sure that school remains open and services our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Brody?
Yeah, I think what we saw with the Coconut Creek High School when that was going through its downslide, and they came back with the sisterhood of ATC and revitalized that school, that's a huge difference now. I think if we look at the Coconut Creek Elementary School the same way, what we can do to provide life back into that school, we need to do it. I'm not a fan of closing any school. I think there's a magical number that the school district looks for. I just don't know what that is anymore, because they always told us it was overcrowded. Now it's undercrowded, so I don't know what the magic number is. But whatever we can do to keep that school open and provide, a spectacular education for our kids. My kids grew up here and went to school here. I'm a fan of the schools that we have here and the teachers and principals that we have in place. I think we just need to get creative and find a way and help fight this to keep it open and be creative in a way of doing it. That's kind of where I'm at.
Vice Mayor Raley?
Yeah, of course, I agree. Anything that we can do to keep the schools open, especially Coconut Creek. K-8 gives our students many advantages, not just the young ones. It gives the older ones a confidence, a sense of society, a sense of being productive. So it would help all the students besides mentoring and volunteering. So I think that's a great idea, K-8.
I see it as an opportunity for those same students to continue together as a class to graduate from their school they started kindergarten in. And I mean, it really is a profound opportunity if that chooses to be the one that goes. And then because Coconut Creek High students, several of them now are already partnering with the lower grades in Coconut Creek Elementary. So that cross-section has already happened. I think it would nurture it even more, but that's just my unbiased, no biased opinion.
Well, and I appreciate the feedback, and that's all we were looking for. I know, the reality of it is it'll be a game time decision through these public meetings. I just wanted to get a sense of where everybody was. In other news, just a quick update on the Redstone Ranch. Very frustrating. There have been code enforcement cases. There was cases brought before the special magistrate, and we do expect to move forward and work on something that would declare it an unsafe structure. We will be posting the property next week. So just to keep you in the loop, there have been red tags that have been violated. Staff's on it, but we don't have an answer to that. And then in fun news, we have two options for the holiday caravan, either Tuesday, December 17th or Friday, December 13th. The benefit of Friday, December 13th is we also have a Fluffy's food truck roundup. So instead of actually driving through the community center, we could begin the caravan here at City Hall, do the U-turn, but head up Lyons Road and experience the food truck, or show off to the food truck roundup before we took off into South Creek. So those are two options. I'd just like you to look at your calendar and give us clear feedback as to what your preference is.
What happened, we locked off Thursday the 19th like 2 months ago. What happened?
The mayor had a conflict out of town.
Huh, Sandy. Quite the conflict.
It's the Globetrotter.
It's the second graduation conflict in Phoenix, so I couldn't move that date.
Yeah, I'm obviously, I think a Thursday, Friday is good. I know schools are letting out the following. I love that Thursday, but obviously family first always. For all of us, I think the 13th will be good. I'm just a little disappointed because I had orchestrated a old-fashioned fire truck that was going to be in the parade, and I don't know if it's going to be available. So I'm a little.
I'll pray for you.
I pray hard, Sandy.
So
I just don't know. I don't know if the vehicle I had planned to rent is available, but I will move mountains to have it available.
We will go for Friday the 13th at 5:30 state. Staging here at City Hall and heading past Fluffy's food truck roundup.
I'd like to put in for Santa. I'm just kidding, John.
I know where you live. Well, since we're talking about it, can I get a consensus? Yeah, he's got no fence, no 5-foot fence to keep me out. Can we have on the same subject matter, consensus? I would really enjoy to be Santa Claus again.
The fact that I don't think this needs consensus at all. You can, at all. And first of all, Santa Claus is a magical person that is definitely not you, but okay, you can pretend. Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus.
This is not for consensus. Why are we talking about it?
All right, can I just make sure I'm also the Grinch as like last year? All right, thank you.
I'll be dressed up as Hanukkah Harry.
Madam City Attorney?
Good evening. I just wanted to point out that we've been working with staff to try to determine any necessary code updates based on our recent legislative session. And one of the things that we looked at was House Bill 1203, which has to do with new requirements on homeowners associations, specifically as it relates to commercial vehicles. And what we determined is that it only seems to prohibit HOAs from having prohibitions with regards to pickup trucks and insignia on vehicles in their property, in their documents. It is not something that prohibits the city from having any regulations with regards to commercial vehicles, and so we do not believe that any kind of code amendment is needed at this time in that regard, because we are not preempted on that issue. So I just wanted to point that out. And then additionally, I wanted to remind you all that Ms. Rose and me and Michael Rigetti and our outside counsel will be going to a meeting at the Turnpike headquarters in Ocoee on October 7th to talk to them about the Turnpike expansion that's proposed from 595 to Wiles Road. And then additionally, I wanted to let you know that I had been invited to serve on a steering committee for the Florida Municipal Attorneys Association by Rebecca O'Hara, the Deputy General Counsel of the Florida League of Cities, to help them with selecting their topics for the next conference in July. So I'm going to assist them with that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
City Clerk Kavanaugh, do you have any updates?
Not at this time, Mayor, but
Okay.
thank you for the option.
I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate and leading the charge for the objective overview of the ballot question. in
I
two-
appreciate
two
that.
venues.
Thank you, and I want to thank the city manager for the opportunity to do so.
Yep. Commissioner Rydell?
I'd actually, real quick, like to flip it back to our city clerk, and I'd like our city clerk to actually report, Mr. Kavanaugh, with all due respect, if you can report on the metrics and effort you have taken in regard to the ballot initiative.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, one of the things that we did was we analyzed how we promoted charter amendments in the past in the city of Coconut Creek. Then we also researched how other municipalities in Broward County have done so. So working with my department, the city attorney's office, we came up with a whole new reimagined way to promote the charter amendment within the confines of the statutory requirements to keep it fact-based, because the city is limited. And we came up with 117 new trackable metrics to share the important information about the charter amendment, also known as the ballot question, also known as the referendum election. The terms are interchangeable for our purposes. And I think that you will see, come November 5th, a showing of information that the residents could be proud of and you as a commission can be proud of, because we are literally blazing a new trail that I don't think any other municipality has done or is actively doing. And I think we can take lessons from this, and moving forward in other elections, I think we will learn, we will get feedback from the residents, from all of you, and it's just proud that, City Manager Rose and her team has supported these initiatives and allowing us to try things that other municipalities have not done. And I'm very proud of that, and we will certainly report back with the feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
I would be remiss, Mr. Kavanaugh, if I didn't give you the opportunity to say that, because I think I think ever since you took this job, you have beyond exceeded anyone's, well, I don't want to say anyone's expectations, because I think that's why you were brought in, but I say it because I think we are on a whole different level in the city clerk's office that you have done. I understand you have a team, and I understand you're the most humble person in the room. We all have a team. Like the five of us elected up here couldn't do anything we do except the people that are in the audience and the people that are in City Hall every day. So I respect that you have a team, but this reimagining, I think, will change what March elections look like as well. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to share that.
And I appreciate your comments, and just to add on to that, the reason I came here was to be the best. And I'm so appreciative for all the department heads and the support, and from all of you, just the opportunity to do so and have the resources to accomplish that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may? Thank you. So I have news to share probably that I don't think anyone on the dais probably knows yet. So there was supposed to be a notice hearing in the second week of October in the County Commission to transmit and set for public notice hearing the expansion of Monarch Hill on the 22nd. It's not happening. Oh, look, I surprised everybody. Look how I can be sometimes. So the mayor decided today to pull off agenda the item to notice it for public hearing. So you will see tomorrow or later this evening, if you choose to pull what was sent around while we were in session this evening, that agenda item. It is not on the agenda to transmit it. And our mayor believes, luckily Mayor Rich has the authority to do that sometimes. She indicated through staff, and this was not relayed to me through the mayor, it was relayed to me through some upper level staff in Broward County government, that what they're attempting to do is they want to really see what is going on at the Solid Waste Authority. So I'll wait till Madam Rose and Madam City Attorney confirm this officially. I'm telling you it is. Usually I'm a little better than pretty good. So I think it's important we get that out to our residents as well. I think it's a little bit of a win. I'm troubled by what the Solid Waste Authority is going to come back with. That meeting is tomorrow. I'll be there. Subject that meeting is going to be succession planning, because the leadership on that board is termed out. So you're going to see a change. I hope and I anticipate attempting to get some sort of leadership capacity on that board. So that's my intention tomorrow. I'm going to get there early, and I'm going to work and see where we can be. And some of the most vocal members of that board are in, and I hate to say it like this, because this is the hardest part about the Solid Waste Authority. We're governing a vision that people don't understand, that what our garbage and recycling and everything looks like in 2040, 2050, 2060. And there's people on that board that have been good voices that may very well not be in office come January. And that's the hardest thing about these regional boards, that you're only as good as your term, you're only as good as the next election. And it's a very difficult thing to vision. So I'll be there. I appreciate everyone on the commission agreeing for an additional meeting for Main Street. And the only reason I say it is because I remember an article that Mitch wrote a while ago that he condemned us for canceling meetings, understanding it's odd that traditionally most cities don't always meet on Thursdays. Some meet on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Mondays. We always have a commission meeting on a Thanksgiving. It's literally the calendar. So I think he's right. I'm glad we all agree that we'll keep working, and I think everyone on this commission is dedicated to the 13th hour to working for the residents of the city. So I don't have anything else. That's my report. I will report back to Madam Rose, who can disseminate the information to all of you at what happens at the Solid Waste Authority tomorrow. And hopefully it's a good and productive meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Wassman?
Thank you. A couple things. Yesterday had a nice meeting with Deputy City Manager Stoudemire, 2 police, and also the property manager of Coconut Creek Plaza. Some positives, some success, right? We see that the flooding in front of Publix has subsided. It doesn't, there's still 1 or 2 more things that are to be done, hopefully, but we have seen the flooding has gotten a little better. It does give a false narrative of pooling because of the sheen, and it's funny, I was there and I was confused myself, but there is no pooling of water anymore in front of Publix, but there is 1 or 2 more things that they're going to do to hopefully make it 100% better, and that was the goal. So they've been very amenable to doing that, which is great. Including in that meeting, we talked about the out parcel of Lorenzo's. Not even, hopefully, I don't even want to give a percentage, but being knocked down and being replaced with a new building. So we're very excited. An eyesore will be leaving that plaza. And some other things to come, hopefully, fingers crossed. But the idea is when Sprouts and Cali Coffee comes on the south side of Coconut Creek Parkway, that the plaza will just want to reinvigorate and continue to modernize and move forward because Cali Coffee has broke ground. Very excited for Cali Coffee. I know on the north side it's broken ground too. While speaking of coffee shops, congratulations to Tarazu, a big acknowledgement they received recently. They're really rocking and rolling there, and I'm very happy for them and all the success they have. I'm trying to see anything else. Rosh Hashanah is next week. Lashana Tova to all of the Jewish people in Coconut Creek, and wishing you a Happy New Year, and I'll wrap on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Brody?
All right, so I'm going to kind of go in chronological order here. So the 9/11 event that went off at the fitness center up north, North Creek, was a tremendous success. A lot of people participated. I didn't see you there, Fred. Maybe next year, huh?
I was out of town.
Oh, is that? I'll just bust your chops, man. So it went really well. In fact, I did a real quick, just a walk-by video and posted that in TikTok on my personal account, and that thing got 26,000 views on it, 2,500 likes, which is more than I could have ever anticipated from a guy that doesn't have that many friends. Kind of cool. So it got a lot of publicity for our first responders. A lot of the guys, you know, I sent it to everybody that was pictured in the video, and you know, let them know that they got, you know, going to be recognized. Hopefully, right? That was kind of cool. Secondly, we did the 917 program, which is a constitutional day where we handed out pocket constitutions to all the 8th graders. Broward County was 28,000 pocket constitutions got handed out. Every school that had an 8th grader got a box. If you guys want some, I have a few left over. If you want a pocket constitution, just let me know. You know, if somebody in the city wants one, just have them shoot me an email, and I can bring in and leave some for them. It was really good, really receptive with the students. To me, it was a lot of fun because I got to kind of have some fun with the students and chatter back and forth. And it didn't make me feel old. It actually made me feel kind of invigorated, to be honest with you. I want to congratulate Creek Pit in the north for reopening. I actually went out and worked out there yesterday. It's absolutely gorgeous in there. The flooring looks so bright. The lights are the LEDs, so it got great reflection in the mirror. Made me look like a total stud in the light. So I appreciate the good lighting in there. You know, everybody we heard coming in there was so appreciative of the updates. The equipment in there, Life Fitness equipment, is a really good, classy, well-reputationed equipment. Very little breakage we ever had when I used it in my fitness centers. So I loved it. I think it was a great choice. So congratulations to everybody that's going to be in there. It's going to be very crowded for a while in there, I guess. The last thing I'm going to ask for a consensus on, and I'm going to do it early this time because of the last 2 years, we kind of did it last minute, and it was kind of a rush job, and we couldn't get the hotels we wanted to or get the people in place to talk. But Broward Days is coming up in March, and I would very much like to go up there again and try to knock on the doors again and try to get some things pushed through for the city. We've been pretty good about getting in there. Even last year, what was kind of last minute, they actually, took time to, during their lunch to come talk to me or meet me for drinks afterwards to talk about the stuff that we wanted for the city. So it was very good meetings with that. So I'm just going to ask for a consensus of that from the dais.
Sure.
I also would like to request going in March.
And it's very funny you say that.
Because you want to go too?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to experience it.
Yeah, it's amazing getting up there and getting in the doors and seeing the stuff that goes on up there. It's March 18th and 19th.
Well, that's after the election.
Yeah.
Well, I may or may not.
Yeah, you have a point. Me as well. I as well.
So you guys are going to love it. I'm going to tell you, getting in there and knocking on these doors and speaking to them about the items really does go a long way with how they look at what we want. The first year was magnificent. Second year was even easier, even though we were a little bit less, involved in trying to set them up. I couldn't get appointments. What I ended up getting was lunches and dinners and, hey, why don't you come over, hang out for a little bit, between these 2 sessions. So they're receptive because if they see what we want, they're going to do it for us. So, and that's the important thing. It's the handshake. It's us being able to get into those doors and making the stuff that we feel important in their vision. So I really appreciate you guys. I'm glad I'm coming up with some buddies up there. We'll have a good time. You guys are going to love it. And anything I can do to help prepare you guys for it, just let me know. That's it. Are you on the list?
Mayor?
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Raley.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you. I've gotten some calls with concerns about mosquitoes. So I did reach out to the county because I know the county does spray. So I know they've gone into a couple of communities. I don't know if we can make another call for the city in areas. Also, where that's concerned, mosquitoes, I'd like to tell the residents, and I'm sure they know it, but just to reiterate that if there's any standing water around, if you have pots there or any containers that keep or hold standing water, that attracts mosquitoes. So make sure those are emptied and dried. 2 weeks ago, I believe, Sunday, Sorry, the days are running into each other, but I was fortunate enough to be asked by Congressman Moskowitz to represent our residents at to be a part of a panel, a roundtable discussion regarding the impact, well, actually the climate change and the impact it has on our insurance and costs of living on our residents, and how the high cost of insurance and reserves are impacting the residents' lifestyle. So we had Senator Whitehouse there, representing the White House, actually. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz was there. Unfortunately, Congressman Moskowitz couldn't make it, but I was there at his invitation, and it was very encouraging that at least the discussion is being brought forward, that they realize that the residents of HOAs and condo associations are hurting, and that the impacts it's having on the condo market and homes is at crisis level. So I was happy about that I was able to answer questions and to make statements and to give some personal experiences through our residents. I also want to congratulate staff on the 9/11. I was a little disappointed, the lack of well, not the lack of attendance, but I did expect more people there, more residents, because they really went above and beyond, and I thought the flag exhibit was amazing, that represented the first responders that were lost. Also, Salsa Night was great. Again, great, thank you, staff. The nonprofits that we've been going around to is very fulfilling. We've been interviewing some of the nonprofits, the mayor and I, so really happy about that, that we're doing that. And thank you, Mayor, for initiating that. Okay, happy holidays. I think we can all gather our inner well-being by self-reflection during these holidays. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. I think we can all benefit from these holidays coming up. I want to say happy holidays.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep it brief. Went to as I said before, the Resilience Roundtable today, and very fortunate to go with Linda Whitman. And our participation came up in a number of the presentations that were provided there today. Sheila's name was brought up as participating in some of the studies that were done, and as well as how staff always submits anything that's asked, to coordinate all the efforts. So it was just a very proud day for me personally. And at the end, we had a request if we wanted to submit one slide of things that are happening in our city that we wanted to share with the rest of those participating. There were 41 people there, and I think only probably 10 or 11 of us submitted the slide presentation, one slide presentation. And Linda went first. She talked about all the different studies that are finally coming to the helm and how we're going to merge them together and get all the results out. And my part of the slide was talking about our efforts, our own many efforts to get towards zero waste, your favorite topic, I know. And, to talk about the glass, where it actually went, the composting, and our plastic ordinance, how very proud we were of that, as well as the Pass Up the Plastic pledge, because I told them once you sign it, the plastic police is on your shoulder every time you go into a store. And I couldn't end it. I couldn't help myself from ending it because Nan Rich and Beam Fur were there. They headed it up to say, and Greg Ross chose to sit next to me, you'll love that, that on the note of zero waste and our race to get there, that I would certainly hope that landfilling and making them larger is one of the very last things that we would consider in getting there. And I love how you said what she has changed her mind. So this is wonderful news, Josh. So good luck tomorrow. Bring us back more good news, okay?
One more quick thing. In regards to the school issue, and I spoke at the, when we were together at the Coconut, at the high school. I just want to just see if I could just be the lead on this as we move forward. It's in my district. It's also close with education. Just didn't want to step on toes or anything.
No, you didn't, and I have to, I actually was going to mention that because I purposely stayed silent, not during the conversations, but at the end, and let you take the lead on the thoughts in regard, because it is in your district. And I fully concur. But I'll be your hefty partner.
I'd love that.
Attendance matters. Move to adjourn.